It's an overcast, chilly, yet beautiful Friday evening for baseball from Cotuit's Field of Dreams, the Cape Cod League's Field of Dreams, Lowell Park in Cotuit, Massachusetts, as today, number 1 in the East meets number 1 in the West, with Orleans traveling to Cotuit for the second of 2 scheduled times in this regular season. A very pleasant Friday evening to you, wherever you may be listening to from. My name is Will Greer. I'll be joined by Matt Rigby in a matter of moments. This game, number 27 of the summer, with Orleans traveling into Cotuit. The Firebirds come in 16-10 overall. They're on a 2-game losing streak, however. Cotuit 14-11-1 overall, also on a 2-game losing streak. But as I mentioned a matter of moments ago, both of these teams first place in their respective divisions. The Firebirds come in 16-10 overall, Cotuit 14-11-1 overall, and Orleans comes in with by far the best run differential in the entire Cape League at plus 50. Cotuit at plus 6 coming into this one. The Kettlers have been really good. They've closed out some pretty close baseball games en route to victories. The Firebirds have really had a lot of lopsided victories this season en route to their 16 wins. So these teams have gotten to where they are in different ways, but both in first place, and that's all that matters. 26 games into the summer. Offensively, when you look at the statistics, these teams both hit the ball very well. Orleans with the number 1 average in the Cape League at .279 coming in. Cotuit with the number 4 average in the Cape League, just 14 points lower at .265. The ERA for the Firebirds, really, really good. It comes in at sub 3, which is really all you can ask for through over half of the season. It's at 2.77 for the Firebirds. The Kettleers, on the other hand, with the number 6 ERA in the league at 4.36. Both of these teams slug the ball very well. Both of these teams can steal some bases. And both of these teams, lineup-wise, may have the first and second best lineups 1 through 9 in the entire Cape League. A lot of depth on both sides. There's really no let-up in either starting 9 tonight, but we'll get to that as the broadcast goes on. This meeting number 4 of 4 scheduled meetings between Orleans and Cotuit this summer. The first 3 have all gone the way of the Firebirds. The first 2, of course, came in a doubleheader all the way back on June 25th. That was 6-4 Orleans in Game 1. And 4-0 Firebirds in Game 2. The Kettleers did have to see 2 very good starting pitchers that day, though, in Ryan Rollison, the lefty out of Ole Miss, and then Daniel Lynch, the lefty out of UVA. So a really uphill battle that day at Eldridge Park for the Kettleers, and they could not come out on top in either ball game. The last time out, though, back on June 28th, just a couple days after that doubleheader, a 13-2 absolute blasting of the Kettleers by the Firebirds here at Lowell Park. That game very lopsided. A couple long home runs for Steven Passatempo and Ethan Paul in the ball game, and Orleans really pulled away early, but then made it count late. They added 5 or 6 runs in the 7th and 8th innings of that ball game to really blow out Cotuit here at Lowell Park and make a statement. Hopefully Cotuit can now make a statement, try to salvage the 4th and final game between these 2 teams and make the season series 3-1. And you never know, these 2 teams could certainly meet up in the CCBL championship round come about a month from now. That's a best 2 out of 3 series, of course, and I guess then the teams will be playing for home field advantage down the regular season here, but still plenty to play for. Orleans certainly looks like the best team in the East. Cotuit has been the best team in the West for the last week or so, but born right on their heels. The Braves come in just a half game behind the Kettleers for the number 1 spot in the West Division. Still plenty of baseball, and both of these teams certainly still playing for playoff positioning. Mentioned the run differentials a little bit earlier in this segment number 1 of the pregame show. It's plus 50 for Orleans, plus 6 for Cotuit. And the last couple games for Orleans kind of tells the story of that run differential. They've lost 4 out of their last 6 ball games after going on a 10-game winning streak, but those 4 losses in their last 6 by a combined 5 total runs. The old adage in baseball, if you are a very good baseball team, even when you lose in very close fashion. That's exactly what the Firebirds have done. All of their games as of late have been close baseball games. At least all the losses have. Again, 4 losses by a combined 5 total runs for Kelly Nicholson's Firebirds. So they certainly are an impressive bunch coming into Lowell Park, and a really good crowd we expect to be on hand for game number 27 of the summer. The starting pitching matchup is Joey Murray, the Mid-American Conference Pitcher of the Year out of Kent State, will go for Orleans, and Jason Billis, the talented Coastal Carolina righty, will go for Cotuit. A whole lot of scouts on hand, and the scouts certainly wanting to see both Murray, the righty, and Billis, the righty, in this one. Both guys certainly have professional futures, you would have to think. Just to recap here how we've gotten to this point as we roll on here on the post-game show. Still have some minutes to fill before we head to break. Cotuit, of course, losing 2 out of their last 2 ball games. They haven't won in their last 3. They tied a couple nights ago against Hyannis. That was a 9-9 tie back on Monday here at Lowell Park. Then Tuesday, a 10-4 loss at home against Chatham. Wednesday, a 3-2 loss at home on the road at Hyannis' McKeon Park, losing to the Harbor Hawks for the first time this summer. Very close competitive baseball game last time out for Cotuit. Chase Cohen, of course, got the start. The Kettleers were down 3-1. An RBI single from Brett Kinnaman made it 3-2 in the 7th. And the Kettleers came close to coming back in that baseball game, but just couldn't score in their last couple innings to lose to the Firebirds, a really close one in that baseball game. And then, of course, we were rained out last night. Cotuit scheduled to go to Wareham Spillane Field for the second of 3 times this summer. We literally rolled up to Spillane Field, and about 45 seconds later, we're told that the game was canceled. So if you haven't heard yet, that game has been rescheduled for Monday, July 31st. We'll head to Spillane Field once again to take on the Gatemen. How did Orleans get to this point? I mentioned a few moments ago that they've lost a couple close baseball games as of late. Their last time out was a loss. Their last 2 times out, in fact, losses for the Firebirds. Those scores in the last 2 games, 4-3 against Falmouth back on Wednesday, and then 8-7 at YD on Tuesday. Mentioned it a few times already, but I think it bears repeating if you're just joining us. 4 out of their last 6 losses for Orleans, but by a combined 5 total runs. So it's a very good baseball team coming in, and it should be a good barometer for the Kettleers. Hopefully Cotuit can get back on track, snap this mini 3-game winless streak, and get to 4 games over 500 at 15-11-1. We'll pause here on the pregame show. Again, Orleans number 1 in the East, Cotuit number 1 in the West. We're just about ready for baseball, about 10 minutes away from first pitch. As we'll come back, and Matt Rigby will have our starting pitching probables and some more information on both of those guys. It's Murray versus Billis. It's Orleans versus Cotuit. Game number 27 coming up on the Cotuit Kettleers Video Network.
Matt Rigby back on the Cotuit Kettleers Video Network. It's time for tonight's starting pitching preview on our Cotuit Kettleers pregame show in advance of game number 27 of the summer. An all first place matchup between the first place in the East Division Orleans Firebirds and your Cotuit Kettleers, who come into tonight with a half-game lead over first in the Cape League's Western Division. Making the start for the visiting Firebirds, as Will mentioned before the break, is Joey Murray. Joey Murray, a righty out of Kent State, a Dublin, Ohio native, stands 6'2", 195 pounds, just off of a campaign in 2017 during his sophomore season in which he was dubbed MAC Pitcher of the Year. He was also dubbed second team All-American by College Baseball Daily. So Joey Murray has quite the pedigree and quite the credentials that he brings into this summer, and he's looked like that pitcher so far this summer for the Firebirds. He's made 4 starts. He's pitched to a 2-1 record, a 1.05 ERA in 17 innings, 16 strikeouts, so almost a K per inning, 13 hits, and only 4 walks. He has really good control. He was 11th in the entire nation this sophomore season just completed for Kent State in ERA. He pitched to a 6-1 record overall with a 1.80 ERA in 14 starts, 75 innings logged for the Golden Flashes, 55 hits, 15 runs, 110 strikeouts, and 32 walks. Will and I were talking before tonight's broadcast about whether or not that's a product of how good Joey Murray is, or whether or not that's a product of the MAC. So far this summer, it's looked more like a product of Joey Murray than the competition he was pitted against this collegiate season. He does give up a few too many long balls. He gave up 6 this year at Kent State in 75 innings, and last summer in the NECBL he pitched only 10 innings but gave up 2 home runs. I know it's not a huge sample size, but Joey Murray, if you can run into one, will let you pop one over the fence. The Kettleers are pretty good at hitting him over the fence as well, as they enter tonight with 20 home runs, which is second most in the Cape League. Now on to your starter for the Kettleers, Jason Billis, making start number 5 of the summer as well. Billis has not registered a decision through his first 4 starts. He does have an ERA though, and it's 4.73. Jason struggled with his control. That's the MO for Jason Billis, and really that's the scouting report on Mr. Billis, and it hasn't improved too much up here so far this summer. He's logged 19 innings, 17 strikeouts, 14 hits, and 13 walks. His last time out on July the 8th in Bourne, he went 4 innings, gave up 2 runs, 3 hits. He struck out 4, but he wasn't long for that game because he walked 5 batters. In his last 9 1/3 innings, and as a matter of fact, he has 9 bases on balls issued. He is a Coastal Carolina righty, so a pair of mid-major righties making the start tonight for the Kettleers and Firebirds respectively. A Wilmington, Delaware native, 6'2", 175 pounds, just wrapped up his sophomore year, and he is a second-year Kettleer. It's Military Appreciation Night at Lowell Park this evening, and it looks like we are getting those festivities underway, one of which includes tonight's national anthem. So we'll step aside, we'll come back with starting lineups, and then Will Greer will have first pitch on the Cotuit Kettleers Video Network. Matt Rigby back from Lowell Park in Cotuit, Massachusetts on the Cotuit Kettleers pregame show on the Cotuit Kettleers Video Network. Veterans are lined up the third baseline here at Lowell Park as we conclude our military appreciation festivities on this beautiful Friday evening in Cotuit. It's time for tonight's starting lineups in advance of first pitch between the first place Firebirds and the first place Kettleers. The 1 through 9 for Orleans and for manager Kelly Nicholson goes as follows. It takes 6 batters in the Orleans lineup until you find somebody who's hitting below 300. Jimmy Herron leads things off. He's hitting 356. That's 5th in the Cape League. Doing the designated hitting tonight is Herron, a right-handed hitter out of Duke. Ethan Paul, who's white hot coming into tonight, 3rd in the Cape League in average. He bats second, plays second as well, batting from the left side out of Vanderbilt. Nico Decolati bats 3rd from Loyola Marymount. He's the center fielder tonight for Mr. Nicholson, batting from the right side. Steven Scott bats in the cleanup hole. You want to talk about hot. Steven Scott might be going through the best stretch as a hitter in Cape League history. More on that, I'm sure, as the broadcast goes along. He bats from the left side and plays left field, also out of Vanderbilt. Romy Gonzalez in the 5 hole for Kelly Nicholson, playing 3rd and batting right out of Miami. Jax Groshans bats 6th and does the catching from the right side out of Kansas. Lars Nootbaar, the 7-hitter tonight for Kelly Nicholson out of the University of Southern California, a.k.a. USC. Batting from the left side and playing first. Kevin Stroshine bats from the right side. Bats in the 8 hole, plays right field out of Tennessee Tech. And rounding out the Firebirds starting 9, Jeff Hopeby out of the University of San Diego, playing shortstop tonight from the left side. 4 true lefties in the lineup for the Firebirds against the righty Billis. 2 lefties on the bench for Kelly Nicholson and 2 righties on the bench. Turning to the starting lineup for your Kettleers, Griffin Conine leads things off, playing right field. Grayson Genesta bats second, playing center field, and Brett Kinnaman bats third, playing left field. A trio of outfielders and a trio of lefties gets things started for Mike Roberts. 4th straight game in which those 3 have hit 1, 2, and 3, and they've been very proficient at getting on base in front of each other, especially early in games. Michael Tolia back into the cleanup spot tonight for the 3rd straight game for Mike Roberts. He plays first base and bats from both sides. He's a switch hitter. Taryn Vavra up to the 5 hole for Mike Roberts, playing second base tonight, batting from the left side. Miles Lewis, another switch hitter, bats 6th and does the designated hitting. Luke Alexander back into the lineup after a night off a couple nights ago in Hyannis, bats 7th and plays 3rd from the right side. Chandler Avant down to the 8 hole after his 0 for 4 3 strikeout night a couple nights ago. He plays shortstop tonight, batting from the right side out of Alabama. And Gian Martellini back behind the dish after he got a night off a couple nights ago as well. He bats from the right side out of Boston College. 4 true lefties in the lineup for Mike Roberts and a pair of switch hitters that will attack Joey Murray. Still delaying here, I suppose, here at Lowell Park. We're at 5 o'clock, but still quite a bit going on the field. So we'll take one more break and then come back with first pitch on the Cotuit Kettleers Video Network. Back at Lowell Park in Cotuit, the pregame military appreciation ceremony has concluded. The italic C is painted behind home plate in stars and stripes. Jason Billis has led his Kettleers onto the mound, or onto the field rather. He's on the mound with the Kettleers wearing their red shirts in appreciation of Military Night here at Lowell Park. Billis concluding his warm-up tosses. Jimmy Herron getting set to step into the box. My name is Matt Rigby, and now with first pitch, Will Greer.
All right, Matt, thank you very much. Looks like we're about 45, 50 seconds away from first pitch tonight, with Jason Billis completing his warm-up tosses. Certainly going to get underway around 3 or 4 minutes late from Lowell Park tonight because of the Military Appreciation Night festivities, but it's as good a reason as any to get underway a few minutes late. And the rain, if you're interested, isn't really coming until 9:30 or 10. We obviously don't have lights here at Lowell Park, but weather shouldn't be a factor tonight. We should be able to get this baseball game completed. 8 or 9 innings should be able to be completed depending on the length of the game, but the weather really shouldn't play a factor. Overcast skies above, the temperature right around 65 degrees. No real wind to speak of, so it's a comfortable 65 and not necessarily a chilly 65. A lot of the players still have short sleeves out there, but this is as cold a first pitch as we've had since maybe the second night of the summer. As Billis on the first base side of the rubber goes through the motions, fires a first pitch fastball on the inner half. First strike one, and we're underway. 97 miles an hour, the radar gun reads. That's much quicker than any pitch we've seen from Mr. Billis so far this summer, but we'll see if the adrenaline is rushing as this ball game goes on. 0-1 slider swung through, and the count quickly 0-2 on the leadoff man, Jimmy Herron. Jimmy Herron, the DH tonight, the regular center fielder for Kelly Nicholson and Orleans, comes in with the number 5 average in the Cape League. 0-2 from Billis, fastball cued off the backstop at 93 miles an hour. Phenomenal crowd on hand on this Friday evening at Lowell Park. Down both the third and first base lines, the bleachers full. Some scattered patrons beyond the chain link fence that surrounds the outfield here at Lowell Park. 0-2, slider misses in the dirt, it's 1-2. As many scouts as we've seen all summer as well, scattered throughout the broadcast. Certainly wanting to see Jason Billis make his 5th start of the summer. And with that 97-mile-an-hour fastball to get things going from Billis, I'm sure quite a few eyebrows were raised. 1-2 kick and delivery from Jason. Line drive into center field, a base hit. 97 again, the velocity that time, but Herron was geared up. He lines one in front of the center fielder, Ginesta. And there's a leadoff single for Ethan Paul in the Orleans half of the first. Defensively for Cotuit, it's Kinnaman, Ginesta, and Conine left to right across the outfield. Alexander at third, Avan at short, Vavra at second, Tolia at first, and Gian Martellini and the aforementioned several times, Jason Billis, the battery tonight. Now Paul from the left side, the second baseman out of Vanderbilt steps in. In the back of the batter's box, slightly open stance, Stangles the bat, and looks at a first pitch fastball that gets away from Martellini, allowing Herron to jog on to second base. Should be a pass ball all the way, a pitch that Gian certainly should have caught. And a man in scoring position quickly for Orleans, and a 1-0 count on Ethan Paul.
We talked about it the other night in Hyannis, Will. Before that Hyannis game, Kettler catchers were out with first base coach Trey McCall before the game about 3 hours early, working on what they termed the Billis drill to deal with Jason Billis's hard-biting slider that moves down and away. That wasn't a hard-biting slider. That was just a backdoor breaking ball that popped out of Martellini's mitt.
Trickled away just enough to allow Herron to easily advance. 1-0 count on Paul. Fastball misses up and away, and it's now 2-0. Continue to say this, but this looks like the most velocity we've seen from Jason all summer, and it hasn't been particularly close. The fastball above the mid-90s so far, 96, 97. And a 2-0 hole here, though, as a 2-0 fastball gets the outer black at 95 miles an hour, and it's 2-1. Our umpiring crew tonight, Ronaldo Cockrum behind the plate. Ron Adams is at first, and Bob Dwyer is at third base. 2-1 count. Paul, the .368 hitter coming in. The number 3 average in the Cape League, steps in. Swings at a 2-1 and fouls it out of play over toward the cars in the Lowell Park parking lot, and the count even at 2 balls and 2 strikes. Matt mentioned this in the pregame show, but there's really nowhere to hide if you're Jason Billis and Cotuit looking at this Orleans starting 9. They just attack you 1 through 9, particularly 1 through 6, where every hitter has an above 300 average. Paul obviously one of those guys at .368 coming in. 2-2, high bouncer up the first base line, foul. 87 miles an hour, breaking ball that time from Billis. As Matt already alluded to, Cotuit in their alternate red tops on red shirt Fridays with the camouflage caps, the white pinstriped pants, and the Cotuit maroon hiked up socks for a lot of guys. Orleans in their road white uniforms with the black tops underneath, the white vests, red numbers, white pants. Billis from the stretch, first base side of the rubber, fires a 2-2. Fastball that again squirts away from Martellini, but this time, because it squirts away to Martellini's left, the runner at second, Heron not able to advance, and the count full on Ethan Paul. Orleans with the #1 average in the Cape League. Scored the third most runs, and they're attacking early in this ball game. The best record in the league at 16-10 coming in. Looking to get on the scoreboard early. The 3-2 from Billis. Breaking ball that misses outside, ball 4. Looked like a circle change maybe that time. It was off speed, but it broke away from the left-handed hitter Paul out of the strike zone. And the first 2 now on in the Orleans half of the first for the 3-hitter Nico Decolati.
You mentioned the velocity so far from Jason Billis, Will, against the first 2 Orleans batters. Against the first batter, Heron, that was controlled velocity. Clearly Billis is amped up. But I think in that at-bat to Paul, he lost a little bit of his location. He still worked it to a full count, but some of the fastballs were way outside, and he had to switch to the breaking ball late in the count, and he couldn't get it over.
Decolati shows bunt and fouls it to the backstop. 96 miles an hour that time from Jason, and it's 0-1.
That's always the problem when you cut loose and when you have quite a bit of adrenaline, as you would assume Jason has tonight with so many scouts on hand. You still have to stick with your mechanics, and you have to be able to rein it in and find the plate.
This Orleans team will make you find the plate as well. All these guys at the top of the lineup at least, really good eyes with high walk totals. Alexander and Tolia in at the corners. 0-1. Decolati swings this time and fouls it off the screen. It's 0-2. Nico Decolati, the Loyola Marymount Lion. The only Loyola Marymount Lion on Cape Cod this summer. A .328 hitter in 15 ball games. Guy that plays just about every other day for Kelly Nicholson, but it's nice to have a .328 hitter on the bench when you need him. He's starting tonight in the 3-hole as Billis steps off before the 0-2. Heron with very good speed at second. Paul with really good speed at first as well. Alexander and Tolia now back at the corners. An 0-2 pitch from Billis. Breaking ball that Decolati gets a piece of. He fouls it off of Martellini, and the count remains 0-2. Now Gian will trot out to the mound. Thought Nico might have swung through that pitch, but he did get a piece. No score, top 1. Will Greer and Matt Rigby alongside you on this Friday evening. Firebirds threatening early. Jason Billis still hasn't recorded an out in this one. Jimmy Heron led off with a single up the middle. Then Ethan Paul drew a nice walk. So 2 guys on with good speed. Decolati the batter now in an 0-2 hole, but the very dangerous, red-hot Steven Scott awaiting on deck. Nobody out. The 0-2 runners go. Breaking ball gets away from Martellini. So Heron moves up to third. Paul to second. The count now 1-2, and would think, Matt, that's a wild pitch, allowing both runners to advance.
I would score it a pair of stolen bases because they were running.
Sure.
I'll check. We never know, as we learned before the game tonight.
We'll go with stolen bases for now. Infield comes in for Cotuit. Still nobody out. 1-2. Breaking ball misses low again. Blocked by Martellini as it trickles just 10 feet or so in front of the pitcher's mound away from Gian. The count now 2-2 on Decolati.
Couple stolen bases awarded.
Stolen base number 8 for Heron, number 4 for Ethan Paul. Top 1, no score, nobody out. Billis taking his time. Now fires a 2-2. Breaking ball, inner half, strike 3. Really nice pitch that time from Jason. 84 miles an hour on the inside part of the zone as Nico Decolati walks very slowly back toward the Orleans dugout. Kind of looks back blankly to the field of play, but he's retired, 1 gone, and now Steven Scott the batter.
I mentioned it before the Decolati at-bat, but quite a few breaking balls so far to start the outing for Jason Billis. And it hasn't been that hard down and away slider. He's throwing it over the zone, and he's throwing it for strikes like that one there to get Decolati on the inside corner. That was just a curveball that wrapped back in and froze Decolati.
Scott from the left side swings at a first pitch fastball, loops it down the left field line. Kinnaman gives chase, still gives chase, and that ball off the wall in foul territory, out of play. A lot of pop the other way for Steven Scott. That ball lands about 10 feet to the left of the left field foul pole in foul territory. It's a loud first strike. Makes sense that Steven Scott was swinging away there. Matt mentioned it in the pregame show when he was giving you the lineups, but Scott comes in a .328 hitter in 20 ball games, and the last time we saw him here at Lowell Park back on June 28th as Mike Roberts heads out to the mound, Scott was just a .120 hitter, so he's raised the average 208 points in his last 10 ball games. That's because he's hit 17 for 36 in his last 10. Mr. Scott has 4 home runs and 20 runs driven in for the season in 20 games. All of those numbers coming in the last 10. He started really slowly, but in 10 ball games to have 20 runs batted in and to have 4 home runs. Matt mentioned it kind of jokingly, I think, but you might not be too far off, Matt. This might be the greatest 10-game stretch for a Cape League ball player in the Cape League's history.
And the current 10-game stretch that Griffin Conine is in might be the second greatest ever, because Griffin isn't too far behind with his numbers over the last 10 games. More on that in the bottom half, I suppose. But you and I were up here last summer. I don't think we saw anything like 20 runs driven in a span of 10 games. A lot of that obviously is circumstantial, and as we've already talked about, this Orleans lineup will give you runners on base to hit with, but still, it's mighty impressive.
He's had a pair of 6 RBI games, has Scott, over the last 10. Now Billis comes set, fires an 0-1 breaking ball, check swing, gets away from Martellini. Here comes Herron, and Jimmy Herron slides in safely with the first run of the ball game. It's the hard slider that time, Matt. Gian could not get in front of it. That should be a wild pitch on Billis, and it's 1-0 Orleans as Ethan Paul moves up to third.
What a picture-perfect and aggressive read there by Jimmy Herron at third base, though. That ball didn't squirt more than a few feet to the left and behind Martellini, and while it did take him a second to find out where it was, I'd say 10 out of 10 times, or 9 out of 10 now, I guess, you don't see the runner from third even attempt to advance on a ball that trickled towards the third base line from third base, but Herron was breaking all the way, and he scores.
0-2, changeup outside, swung through. So on that 0-1, they ruled that Scott did go around an offer, and he was behind in the 0-2 count. He clearly swings through the 0-2. 2 outs now, and Romy Gonzalez the batter. Completely agree with you, Matt, on the jump from Jimmy Herron from third. That's what Jimmy Herron brings to a baseball team. Maybe has the most speed we've seen all summer, and he was sprinting home that time. Scored pretty easily. Batter Gonzalez looks at a first pitch fastball at 96 from Billis that misses upstairs and in for ball 1.
I mean, it's almost as if his secondary lead was full sprint to home plate. No hesitation at all. As soon as the ball skipped away, he was gone.
Romeo waits a 1-0. Fastball this time misses low and inside. It's 2-0. Gonzalez a .318 hitter in 18 ball games. He's red hot, as are a lot of these Orleans Firebirds. Romy 10 for his last 20 at the plate. 2 home runs, 8 runs batted in for the Miami Hurricane. Paul the runner at third, 1-0 ball game. 2-0 from Billis. Fastball misses up and away. Count now 3-0 on Gonzalez. Cotuit quasi playing Romy to pull here. Alexander over toward the third base bag behind it, and Chandler Avant over a couple steps from his normal shortstop position. Vavra up the middle is near second base. 3-0. Slider inner half for strike 1. That's to your point, man. We saw a 3-0 breaking ball that time from Jason Billis, that maybe Jason doesn't have complete control of the fastball so far because he has gone to that not so hard breaking stuff.
He's pitching backwards because he doesn't have command of the fastball.
He's got the velocity, just not the command just yet. 2 outs, 3-1 to Gonzalez. Another breaking pitch that gets the outer half and the count 3-2.
I mean, that's a 3-0 breaking ball and then a 3-1 pitch on the outside corner that's also a breaking ball. It's not exactly what Jason Billis profiles as.
See if we see the hard slider here. Gonzalez, one of the most strikeout-prone guys in the entire league. 3-2 pitch coming from Billis. It's a breaking ball that never quite broke. It misses inside for ball 4. Gonzalez flips the bat and trots down to first base. Men on the corners now, 2 outs, and Jax Groshans, the Kansas catcher, coming up. Jax had the shin protectors and the rest of the catching gear on, so he has to take that off before coming to the plate. A single, 2 walks, and 2 strikeouts in the inning for Jason Billis as Gian Martellini trots out to the mound. Nobody warming in the Cotuit bullpen. Mike Roberts, of course, cannot go back out to the mound in this inning because he did so after the first pitch into Steven Scott. Just 1 run home for Orleans so far, but 2 on with 2 outs. Jason Billis trying to minimize the damage here. He's already tossed 28 pitches in this top of the first. Grosjean steps in, the dangerous Kansas catcher, a .310 average as Jason throws over and Gonzalez back in safely. 3 home runs, 12 runs batted in for Jax Grosjean. Has an 8-game hitting streak coming in. Stands 6 foot, 190 pounds in the right side as Billis comes set. Again throws over. No tag applied this time from Tolia as Gonzalez is back in safely. And I think Jason wanted Michael to apply the tag that time. Kind of motions with his glove hand to Michael to get that tag down. Gonzalez with a pretty good lead at first. Paul well off the third base bag as well. 2 outs, 1-0 ball game. First pitch from Billis. Fastball sprayed out of play. 93 miles an hour, and it's 0-1. It's an interesting situation that Jason Billis will find himself in as this ball game goes on, with Orleans potentially beginning to sit on breaking balls. They haven't necessarily done so yet in this first, but I'm sure the second time through the lineup, if the fastball command is still not there, Orleans is going to gear up for the breaking stuff. 0-1 from Jason. Breaking ball, outer half. Again cued foul over toward the Orleans dugout up the first base line, and it's 0-2. Again, 2 walks, a single, and 2 strikeouts here in the first. First inning that has taken upwards of 15 minutes already, but only 1 run home. Billis trying to keep this a 1-0 game, with Conine, Ginista, and Kinnaman due up for the Kettleers against Joey Murray. 0-2 into Grosjean's. Curveball that misses low. Gonzalez breaks towards second, and he slides in safely with a head-first dive. Was Gonzalez running before the pitch, Matt? Now that's a wild pitch on Jason Billis. So a passed ball, 2 wild pitches in the inning. A couple stolen bases as well.
It's almost as if the Firebird base runners are guessing breaking ball and then hoping they guess right, because the slider is just impossible for these backstops from Jason Billis to catch. And so it's going to skip in the dirt, and if you guess right, you're going to get an extra base.
1-2 is a slider that Grosjean's fouls off the screen.
Either that or maybe they can see breaking ball out of Jason Billis's hand. They know it's going to be down and away, and so they just kind of take off as soon as the ball skips into home plate. Because, again, that was another pitch that didn't get too far away from Gian Martellini. And Romy Gonzalez was running almost immediately.
Jimmy Herron coming home to score the run in this inning. Certainly saw there was a breaking ball before sprinting home. 1-2, slider right over the heart of the zone for strike 3. So Jason Billis strikes out the side, but not before Orleans gets a run home on the strength of 1 hit and a couple walks. The Firebirds, though, do leave 2 in scoring position. And after a half inning of play, it's Orleans 1, Cotuit coming up against Joey Murray on the Cotuit Kettleers Radio Network. 1-0 Firebirds as we move to the home half of the first from Lowell Park on this Friday evening, July 14th. Will Greer and Matt Rigby alongside you. Thanks for joining us on the broadcast this evening. As Orleans trying to sweep the season series away from Cotuit. Kettleers trying to pick up an impressive win over the number 1 team in the East here in game number 27 of the summer. It is 1-0 Orleans with Joey Murray, the Kent State righty, finishing up his warm-up tosses. If you weren't joining us in the pregame show, the numbers for Murray so far: a 1.05 ERA, a 2-1 record, and 4 starts for the Firebirds, 16 strikeouts, just 4 walks in 17 innings. Last time out, back on July 8th, he went 3 innings, gave up just 1 hit, and struck out 2. And Matt mentioned it briefly in the pregame show, but Joey Murray, a second-team All-American, the Mid-American Conference Pitcher of the Year, and the number 11 ERA in the entire nation in his sophomore season. That was a sophomore season in which Murray made 14 starts, had a 1.80 ERA, a 6-1 record, and 110 strikeouts in just 75 innings. You wonder if that's a Mid-American Conference thing or if that's a Joey Murray thing. Matt also rhetorically asked that on the pregame show, but so far the numbers this summer on Cape Cod would lead you to believe that it is indeed a Joey Murray thing. The Dublin, Ohio native on the third base side of the rubber, facing Conine, Ginesta, and Kinnaman here in the bottom half of the first, as a first pitch fastball on the outer half. First strike 1 into Conine, and it's 0-1. Griffin comes in with a 9-game hitting streak, the most RBIs in the Cape League, the second most home runs. 0-1, fastball misses outside at 88 miles an hour, it's 1-1. The second baseman, Ethan Paul, is back on the outfield grass. The first baseman, Newt Barr, very close to the first base line. 1-1, breaking pitch that Conine chops off of his right foot, it's 1-2. We also see the third baseman, Romy Gonzalez, well over from third base. We saw Kelly Nicholson shift on Griffin Conine the last time the Firebirds were here, back in that June 28th ball game, and not necessarily a full-out shift from Kelly here in the first, but some Firebirds a bit out of position. Also see the center fielder Decolati close to left center. He's certainly not in straightaway center. Kelly's been looking at the spray charts each evening. Nobody out. 1-2 from Murray. Breaking ball misses low. It's 2-2. Kent State, a better than you might think baseball program that Joey Murray was the ace of this season. 2-2 fastball sprayed out of play. Back toward the parking lot. Already heard that one car had its windshield broken, and that foul ball fortunately misses another windshield. It's 2-2. The Golden Flashes were the best team in the Mid-American Conference this last season, and they had the number 16 earned run average in the entire nation. Very good pitching team that Murray was certainly the best pitcher of. Conine calls time and steps out before the 2-2.
Good history for the Kent State baseball program as well. Thurman Munson went to Kent State. Travis Shaw.
Certainly the class of the MAC. 2-2 fastball misses way up and away. Snagged nicely by Groshans. It's 3-2.
Doesn't take much in that conference.
Takes more than losing to Ohio in the conference tournament championship. Kent State probably a team that deserved to play postseason baseball, but they did not. 3-2 fastball cued to the right side. Ethan Paul ranges over, gloves, and throws to Newt Barr at first for out number 1. 88-mile-an-hour two-seamer that time into Griffin. There's one gone. Grayson Ginesta the batter, and so far, Matt, Joey Murray certainly looks like the crafty righty out of Kent State that we were promised.
Yeah, he's not lighting up the radar gun or anything, at least through the first batter, but he mixed his pitches really well there to Griffin Conine. He had Conine late, he had Conine early, and he eventually gets him to roll over one to second base on a breaking ball down and in.
Now Ginesta, the batter from the left side, is the same defensive positioning for Kelly Nicholson here, with Romy Gonzalez, the third baseman, well off the third base bag. First pitch from Murray, breaking ball over at the knees for strike 1. Gonzalez playing where we've seen Grayson Ginesta pick up a lot of singles through that hole between third and shortstop. He's right in the middle of that hole right now as he backs up a few steps. Ginesta calls time before the 0-1. Grayson, a .325 hitter in 21 ball games coming in. He's 8 for 21 since coming back from being out for about a week, as an 0-1 fastball Foul tipped into the glove of Groshans for strike 2. 5-game hitting streak in that time period for Grayson as well. 1-0 ball game, bottom 1. 0-2 from Murray. Breaking ball that Ginesta is fooled by, but he chops it off of his foot, foul. Can't get over this defensive positioning, Matt. It's really strange to see in the bottom half of the first. The center fielder Decolati remains well to the left of straightaway center. The shortstop Hopeby is out on the outfield grass, about 3 steps to his left from where he would normally be playing in the usual shortstop hole. And Gonzalez, the most noteworthy guy, well off the third base line. 0-2 breaking ball, outer half, strike 3. A backdoor breaking ball that time from Murray. Ginesta doesn't like the call from home plate umpire Ronaldo Cockrum, but it's a looking strikeout, and there's 2 gone for Brett Kinnaman.
Mere error statistics don't always tell the defensive story for a ball club, but they're really all we have to go on up here in the Cape League, Will. And if we're going to use them, Orleans certainly seems as though they know better than any other team in the league what they're doing defensively. They've committed the fewest errors at just 19 entering tonight.
Kinnaman swings through a high fastball for strike 1.
And you and I were talking before the game, if you take away the 6 from Romy Gonzalez, they would have only 13 errors as a team. A lot of that you'd have to figure is positioning.
Sure. You wonder if Kelly Nicholson just told his guys, I mean, it's easy enough to stay in this same positioning for the first 3 batters in the lineup, all 3 being lefties. 0-1, fastball cued right to the shortstop Hopeby, who glides in and gloves near his hat for out number 3. A really impressive 3-up, 3-down inning for Joey Murray, and we're through 1 from Lowell Park. It's 1-0 Orleans in a battle of first place in the East and first place in the West on the Cotuit Kettleers Video Network. One to nothing Firebirds as we move to the second in game number 27 of the summer from beautiful, pristine, picturesque Lowell Park in Cotuit, Massachusetts. Will Greer and Matt Rigby alongside you here for game number 27, as we have been through games number 1 through 26. And we appreciate you spending a portion of your Friday evening with us here on the Cotuit Kettleers Video Network, on the radio network, or on Comcast Channel 99 at home. Newtbar, Stroshine, and Hopeby, bottom third due up for Orleans, as a first pitch fastball from Jason Billis sails outside for ball 1. And the second inning is underway. 66 degrees, cloudy skies above. But again, not a lot of wind, and a temperature that would lend itself to maybe feeling chilly with some winds. Not so chilly with no wind on this Friday evening. 1-0 fastball at 93 misses outside. It's 2-0 on Newtbar, as Martellini trots out to the mound for the third or fourth time already in this ball game. A theme from the top of the first continuing so far here in the top of the second. Not a lot of fastball command for Jason Billis so far in this one. Newtbar, a Southern California first baseman tonight. A .271 hitter in 23 ball games. He has 16 walks and 10 strikeouts on the season. Always good to have more walks than strikeouts, and that lends itself to an on-base percentage above 400 for Newtbar. 2-0, breaking stuff outer half for strike 1. Lars, a really talented baseball player. He grew up a quarterback as well. Was an all-state quarterback, in fact, in high school. 2-1 from Jason. Fastball cued down the third base line. Spinning foul as Jason picks it up in foul territory for strike 2. He had some Division I offers to go play quarterback in college, but none that were as prominent as a USC baseball offer. And also going into that decision was the fact that his great-grandfather, Herbert Newtbar, built the USC baseball facility. His brother, Nigel Newtbar, played baseball at USC as a reliever. He was drafted in the 12th round, so he said as hard as it was for him to give up playing football, it just made sense to go play baseball at Southern Cal. His family pretty much owns the baseball program. 2-2, curveball, lower half, strike 3. That's the hard biting slider from Jason Billis. 3 straight breaking balls after he missed with 2 straight fastballs. 4 strikeouts already, and there's 1 gone for Kevin Stroshine. It's tough as it is to not have the fastball command if you're Jason Billis so far. That breaking ball has got to have some scouts salivating. Paired with the fastball that's touched 97 at times. There's a 91-mile-an-hour fastball that misses low and inside for ball 1. Stroshine, the batter, a .218 hitter in 16 ball games coming in. The Tennessee Tech Golden Eagle steps into the right side as a 1-0 is fouled off the screen, and it's 1-1.
I think in a one-start sample, too, a scout would rather see the quality of pitches than the command of pitches, if that makes sense. Command can kind of show itself in numbers over time.
1-1 from Billis. Slider that misses up and in for ball 2.
But if I'm a scout watching Jason Billis tonight, I want to A, see how fast his fastball is, and then B, see how much his breaking ball bites. And I think he's checked off both of those boxes tonight. Now, he obviously has things to work on from a command standpoint, but that's a project down the road.
2-1. Fastball outer half, fouled out of play down the right field line. Certainly agree with you. You figure all these scouts trust their respective baseball organizations' coaching staffs. And as long as you can see the potential in Jason Billis, you can think that you can fix some things mechanically, get that fastball command to where it needs to be. The guy throws 97. A guy throws 97. 2-2 from Billis. Curveball, foul back to the screen. Stroshine chased ball 3 that time, and it remains 2-2. Kevin Stroshine from McDonough, Georgia, 6'1", 215 pounds. Mentioned this trivia fact a couple weeks ago when we were at Orleans' Eldridge Park. 2-2, curveball, swung through, blocked by Martellini, and Stroshine, as if he was dejected that time, not willing to run down to first base. He strikes out swinging. 5 strikeouts already for Billis, and there are 2 gone for Jeff Hope. Anyway, Kevin Stroshine, the only player in Ohio Valley Conference history to win Player of the Year in the conference as well as Rookie of the Year. He did that back in his freshman season. Some good Ohio Valley trivia. Jeff Hope now the batter from the left side. Facing the righty Billis, who fires a first pitch fastball on the outer half for strike 1. Hope out of the University of San Diego. Just a 138 hitter in 22 ball games coming in. 9 for 65 at the plate. 0-1 from Billis. Breaking ball. That's fouled off the foot of Gian Martellini. It's 0-2, and Gian hobbling up the third base line trying to walk it off. Never a fun day, I'd have to think, Matt, to have to catch Jason Billis, especially not when guys are fouling balls off of your foot, off of your midsection area if you're Gian Martellini. Just so much bite to that breaking stuff. That's why all the scouts are here tonight, you'd have to think. They've heard about the slider, the curveball from Jason Billis. We've already seen quite a few pitches get away from Gian. Really no fault of Martellini, rather just the fact that Billis's curveball breaks just that much. 1-0 score, 2 outs. An 0-2 pitch coming from Billis. It's a fastball that misses up and away at 99 miles an hour, and it's 1-2. Jason staring down at the ground. Takes a deep breath after firing that 99-mile-an-hour fastball. We'll see what he comes with here. The 1-2, fastball, 95 miles an hour, swung through for strike 3. 6 outs for Jason Billis, 6 strikeouts. And we're through 1.5 from Lowell Park. It's 1-0 Orleans on the Cotuit Kettleers Video Network. Moving to the bottom half of the second this evening from Lowell Park, 1-0 Orleans leading Cotuit in a battle of the top team in the East Division and the top team in the West Division. A prime time Cape League matchup tonight. So far advantage Firebirds, but still 24 outs to work with if you're Cotuit, as Tolia, Vavra, and Lewis do up against the crafty righty Joey Murray out of Kent State, who fires a first pitch breaking ball that never broke for ball 1. Will Greer and Matt Rigby alongside you on this Friday evening. Murray retired the Kettleers in order in their half of the first. 1-0 fastball outer half for strike 1. Tolia, .245 hitter in 17 ball games coming in. 1-1 from Murray. Breaking ball chopped high to the first baseman Newtbar, who picks it up and tosses underhandedly to Murray covering at first for a routine out number 1. 16 pitches, 4 outs for Murray, and it brings up the 5-hitter Taryn Vavra. Positioning continues to be a little bit out of whack for Kelly Nicholson's Firebirds. Defenders in the same spots they were for Tolia theirs. They were in the first inning. Vavra from the left side as the third baseman Gonzalez creeps in on the infield grass, and a first pitch curveball at 68 miles an hour misses way outside into Vavra for ball 1. Taryn 5 for his first 22 as a Cape Leaguer. 1-0. Fastball misses upstairs. It's 2-0. He was 2 for 3 though the other night, last time the Kettleers were in action on Wednesday at Hyannis's McKeon Park. 2-0. Fastball right over the heart of the zone for strike 1. It's 2-1. We mentioned it at the time, and we never corrected ourselves because we did not think we were wrong. That Taryn led off the top of the 8th in that one with a triple. He's actually scored a double and an error, much to our surprise this morning. 2-1, chopped high to the shortstop Hopi, who charges, gloves, and throws to Newtbar for out number 2. So Vava retired 6-3. 5 up, 5 down for Murray. And the 6-hitter Miles Lewis comes to the plate. Wonder if Taryn knows that was not scored as a triple at McKeon Park the other night. It was a really nice piece of hitting through the pull side, though, that set up Cotuit to tie up the ball game, but 3 straight Kettleers struck out against the New Mexico Lobo Christian Tripp with a man at third base and nobody out. Enough dwelling on the past, though. 1-0 in this game as Lewis, first pitch swinging, misses at a good fastball from Murray. It's 0-1. No surprise that Miles was first pitch swinging. He swung at a lot of early counts so far this summer. Has a .260 average coming into this one. 0-1, breaking pitch, outer half, check swing from Lewis. He did not offer, but that pitch called a strike for strike 2.
47% of the time, to be exact, Will, coming into tonight, that Miles Lewis has swung at the first pitch of an at-bat this summer.
0-2, breaking ball taken in the dirt. Squirts away from Groshans. That doesn't matter with nobody on base. It's 1-2.
The only 2 other Kettleers above 40% in that category, Chandler Avan at 41 and Luke Alexander at 44.
Can pretty much bet on it at this point, with it being that close to 50%. 1-2 fastball misses up and away for ball 2. He has shown the ability, though, Miles has, to fall behind in counts and then work back into favorable counts. 2 outs, 1-0 score. The 2-2 from Murray. Fastball right over the middle for strike 3. 87 miles an hour that time, and Miles Lewis was completely fooled. 6 up, 6 down for Joey Murray, and we're through 2 now from Lowell Park. Orleans still leading Cotuit 1-0 on the Cotuit Kettleers Video Network. To the third we move from Lowell Park. Jason Billis back out onto the bump. Matt, 6 outs, 6 strikeouts for Jason. Can he make it 9-9 here in the third?
I don't see why not, Will. A pair of walks to go with those 6 strikeouts has run the pitch count up just a little bit for Jason Billis. He needed 48 pitches to pick up those first 6 strikeouts of the night. And now with the top of the order due up again in the third, he's back onto the mound from the first base side to attack Jimmy Herron. The first pitch to Herron, swing and a miss, 81-mile-an-hour slider. Down and away for strike 1. Herron singled back in the first, then reached second via a pass ball, third via a stolen base, and scored on a wild pitch. The kick in the 0-1 to Herron. Breaking ball misses down and away for ball 1. So I guess that first time around for Jimmy Herron was the epitome of applying pressure to the base paths. Pressure until the pipe burst and he came around to score. Billis has the sign, the kick in the 1-1. Misses downstairs and it skips into Martellini for ball 2. Herron, Paul, and Decolati 1, 2, and 3, the 3 due up. Herron and Decolati the righties with the lefty Paul sandwiched in between. Billis comes set, gets the sign. Now the kick in the 2-1. Fouled back behind the screen by Jimmy Herron for strike 2. The trio of Herron, Cone, and Conine at Duke this year really accounted for almost all of the Blue Devil offense. And we've talked about it every time we've seen Orleans so far this summer, Will. It's hard to fathom how Duke wasn't better this year. The 2-2 misses down and into Herron for ball 3. My conjecture the last time we brought it up was that none of the 3 were able to pitch, and that was really the Dukies' problem this year. But when those 3 were freshmen in 2016, Duke made a regional for the first time in 50 years. So a little bit of a letdown campaign for Duke this year. I think all things told, because of guys like Herron, the future's bright. Payoff pitch. He swings and nubs it up the third baseline, and it kicks foul. We'll do it again. Jimmy Herron enters tonight 8th in the Cape League in OPS. 2 homers, 10 ribbies. He's 6 for his last 19 in his last 5 games played, with 1 of those home runs and 1 of those runs driven in. Martellini out for a chat with Billis. That concludes. Martellini pats the front end of his battery on the back and Now he returns to the crouch behind the plate in anticipation of this payoff pitch to Jimmy Herron. Billis has the sign. The kick and the pitch misses up and in for ball 4. 94 miles an hour on that fastball from Jason Billis. Jimmy Herron draws walk number 11 of the summer. And now Ethan Paul comes to the plate. Third walk of the night issued by Billis. Ethan Paul had the first of those 3, his first time up. He then stole second and reached third on a wild pitch, but was stranded there. Orleans with the only run in this game. It was scored in that first inning on the strength of 1 hit, but the Firebirds stranded 2. Throw over, and Herron slides back in. With his stolen base in the first, Jimmy Herron now 8 for 9 stealing bases this summer. Orleans as a team doesn't come into tonight with high-profile stolen base numbers. They have the second fewest, in fact, in the Cape League entering play at just 22. Small lead for Herron. He's leaning, but a throw over, and he's back in time by about half a second. Firebirds have still been pretty efficient stealing bases this summer so far. Although they don't do it often, 22 for 32. That's a pretty good clip. Big hole on the right side for Ethan Paul if he wants it as well. Herron not running. The first pitch to Paul. It's a pitch out for ball 1. Paul has torched right-handed pitching this year. Will mentioned it his first time up. He's been good, whether it be against righty or lefty, as he enters tonight with the 3rd best average in the Cape League at 368. But he's hit righties at a 438 clip. Throw over, and again Herron back in. He's only hit lefties at a 214 mark. I guess that makes sense with Paul being a left-handed hitter, but 438 means that he's been almost impossible for right-handed pitchers to get out. Billis comes set, the kick in the 1-0. Paul swings, rifles it down the left field line, fading foul fast, and it lands in foul ground for strike 1. A long strike number 1 off the bat of Ethan Paul there, as he was late on an outside corner fastball at 98 miles an hour from Jason Billis to run the count to 1-1. Ethan Paul draws his fair share of walks as well. He's second in the Cape League in on-base percentage entering tonight with a 478 OBP. He's been very hot of late, 15 for his last 31. That's a 484 average. Throw over again, and again Herron dives back in. That's about the 5th time in this at-bat to Paul so far, in which Jason Billis has opted to throw over to first instead. Now he throws over once more, as Herron had only taken a step away from the bag. And Herron calmly walks back to the first base bag and brushes off his hands.
If nothing else, Jimmy Herron is just going to be out of breath pretty soon and won't be able to run to second base, having to dive every 15 seconds back to the first base bag.
Smaller lead now, the 1-1. Paul swings and misses at a down and outside changeup. Good pitch there from Jason Billis. And he jumps ahead 1-2. Well, if there were any scouts tonight who had already decided that they'd seen everything from Jason Billis but his pickoff move, they've been treated during this at-bat so far. The kick in the 1-2 to Paul. He lays off a breaking ball downstairs, and it's 2-2. Approaching the 6 o'clock hour here at Lowell Park. This game just about an hour old as we play in the top of the 3rd. 1 run, 1 hit for the Orleans Firebirds. Nothing across so far for the Kettleers. Another throw over, and again Herron is sliding back in safely. So Jimmy Herron wearing out a path on that first base cutout. And now Billis gets the sign before the 2-2. Another throw over. This time Herron stumbles once he gets to the bag. It looked like his foot got caught on the bag a bit there. He's safe, as he did not slide. And Jason Billis continues to pay close attention to Jimmy Herron. Herron's marked his territory over there at first base. See if he's running on this 2-2. He's not. The pitch misses down and in. Goes all the way to the backstop. And home plate umpire Ronaldo Cochran's going to say that that actually hit Ethan Paul. So Ethan Paul is awarded first base. Heron moves up to second. And after a plate appearance that lasted seemingly 10 minutes, with about 10 throws over to first base, Ethan Paul eventually ends up at first base, the recipient of a hit by pitch. That's the 6th hit by pitch that Ethan Paul has drawn so far this summer. I was looking up and down the Orleans numbers before the game, Will, and the hit batsman numbers really stood out to me for the Firebirds, so I did a little bit of looking, or a little bit of digging rather, and the Firebirds entered tonight the recipients of 24 hit by pitches, which is the most in the Cape League by a couple. So make it 25 now and make Ethan Paul the recipient of 6 as he moves into a tie for first overall in hit by pitches in the Cape League. Mike Roberts out of the dugout, and I don't see anybody warming in the Kettleer bullpen, so I don't think he's going to take the ball from Jason Billis just yet. But Billis continues to be a bit erratic as he's put the first 2 men on here in the top of the 3rd, with nobody out for Nico Decolati.
See some guys begin to run down to the Cotuit bullpen up the left field line. Taylor Lehman, one of those guys. Yvonne Gonzalez, Jonathan King, the pitching coach.
It's a whole brigade.
Kyle Kim, everybody now. Why did I start listing guys? Because the whole bullpen now trotting down toward that left field bullpen here at Lowell Park.
The alarm clock must have went off. Ronaldo Cochran, the home plate umpire, goes out to the mound to break up the conference. And now Cochran, the speediest to get back to his post. Mike Roberts continues to take his sweet time going back to the dugout. And at long last, Decolati digs in. No real rhythm to this top of the 3rd yet. A lot of pitches, no balls put into play. And a lot of time elapsed with 2 on and nobody out. First pitch to Decolati misses down and in for ball 1. 84 on that breaking ball from Billis. Decolati struck out looking on an inside corner breaking ball from Jason Billis his first time up. That was the 14th strikeout of the summer for Decolati at the plate. Billis comes set, now steps off. Nico Decolati out of Loyola Marymount, as Will mentioned, but home means Nevada for Decolati. A Las Vegas native. Kicking the 1-0, misses downstairs and in for ball 2. Cimarron Memorial High School for Decolati. Go Spartans.
Of course.
Just another Vegas school. As Billis comes set before the 2-0, long stare in. Now he has his sign. And the kick and the pitch. Chopped off the plate. That's a foul ball, and the count goes to 2-1. Decolati was born in Boulder. His father played baseball for Northern Colorado. As Decolati's going to take a minute after wearing part of that foul ball. Martellini goes out for a chat with Jason Billis to buy Decolati a few more minutes. Decolati, a West Coast guy through and through. Kinesiology major, part of the reason he chose Loyola Marymount. He also pitches for the Lions. Made 9 appearances in 2017 for Loyola Marymount. A 4.09 ERA in 11 innings and 2 saves. Part of the bullpen and the semi-closer. Kicking the 2-1, Decolati swings and lifts it foul out of play towards the right side. It's 2-2. Zane Collins warming in the pen for Mike Roberts. Collins was listed on Mr. Roberts' dugout lineup card as the long man today out of the bullpen. With Jason Billis' pitch count where it's at, a long man certainly seems to be required. Another step off for Billis. Now he's back onto the mound. Working quite deliberately here with runners on base in the top of the 3rd. He has his sign. The kick in the 2-2. Decolati swings, serves it towards the left side. Over to his right, Avan. He goes to 3rd for the force out. Alexander steps on the bag there, and that's all the Kettleers will get. So the lead runner's retired. Decolati replaces Paul at first. Paul replaces Heron at second. And there's now 1 away with still 2 on for Stephen Scott. 6-5 fielder's choice, allowing Decolati to reach. Scott's 0 for 1. He struck out swinging his first time up. Made all the more impressive for Jason Billis given how hot Steven Scott is. Will mentioned it his last time up. But he entered tonight 17 for his last 36 with 4 home runs and 20 driven in his last 10 games. First pitch to Scott, a breaking ball that misses off the plate outside for ball 1. This tear that Scott's been on has him tied for 5th in the Cape League in home runs, 4th overall in runs driven in, and has him at a 1,020 OPS. The kick in the 1-0, Scott lays off another breaking ball that misses outside and up for ball 2. That was the 67th pitch out of the right hand of Jason Billis, making it the 19th of this inning already, with just one man retired. He's behind Scott 2-0. Should be something to hit here for Scott. Instead, it's a fastball that misses downstairs for ball 3. Breaking ball, rather, there at 84 miles an hour. Good block by Martellini, keeping it in front of him as the runners stay put. But now Jason Billis in a world of trouble, as he's got to come with something to hit here for Steven Scott, one of the most dangerous hitters in the Cape League right now. Runner at second is Paul. Runner at first, Decolati. And a 3-0 count to Steven Scott. Scott dangles the bat. Now the 3-0 misses outside for ball 4. 96 on that fastball from Jason Billis. He tried to spot it on the outer black, but he misses the plate. It's his 4th walk of the night. 5th free pass overall. 3rd free pass of this inning, as he's walked 2 and hit a batter. And now Terran Vavra going to the back of the mound to chat with Jason Billis. Likely to stall here, I would think, and allow the Kettleers to continue to bide time in the bullpen. Zane Collins, to be exact. Mike Roberts has already used up his trip to the mound in this inning. Now the Kettleer defense comes in. Roberts is out of the dugout, but he's retreating back to the dugout now, and he's going to let Billis go after the batter now, Romy Gonzalez. Infield in, even though the double play's in order. Gonzalez steps out, now steps back in and awaits the first pitch. Romy walked his first time up, then was stranded at second back in the first. First pitch to Romy, breaking ball misses up and in at 86 for ball 1. Gonzalez looking to come through. He has 8 ribbies so far this season. He's got 3 men on. Bases loaded for the Firebirds with just 1 out. The kick in the 1-0, swing and a miss by Gonzalez. 94 on that inside fastball, and it's 1-1. Will mentioned it in the pregame. Orleans has been a good hitting club all year. They entered tonight with the best batting average as a team in the Cape League at .279, but they've been even better with runners in scoring position, and even better than that with the bases loaded. First the 1-1. Gonzalez watches a fastball miss upstairs for ball 2. Orleans enters tonight a 302 hitting bunch with runners in scoring position. That's tied for first in the Cape League overall, like the Hyannis Harbor Hawks of all teams. And they enter a 341 hitting team with runners in scoring position, or with the bases loaded, excuse me, in 44 at-bats. The kick in the 2-1. Gonzalez grounds it towards second. Vavra picks it up, goes to home for the force out, but it skips underneath the glove of Martellini all the way to the backstop. Coming in to score is Ethan Paul, and then right behind him is Nico Decolati. And then moving up to second behind the throw is Romy Gonzalez, and up to third is Steven Scott. It's an E4 charge to Terran Vavra, 2-run score, and it's now 3-0 Firebirds.
Terran obviously came up with that ground ball quite cleanly. Wasn't hit all that hard off the bat of Romy Gonzalez, but then kind of short-armed the throw, and you can see the facial expression on Terran Vavra's face as he realized that that throw was not going to get all the way to Gian Martellini, and it was not a pretty face on Terran Vavra's face that time. A tough play. You figured the Kettleers would have certainly had 1, maybe even 2, with Romy Gonzalez not that fast running down to first base, but instead now a 3-0 ball game, 2 in scoring position, and still just 1 out.
It's the second error of the summer on Terran Vavra, another costly one for the Kettleers, as it allows 2 runs to score. Orleans still doesn't have a hit in the inning, but now 4 men have reached base, and there are still 2 in scoring position with still just 1 out for Jax Groshans. Infield still in for Cotuit. First pitch to Groshans, misses up and in at 95 for ball one. Groshans so far tonight 0 for 1 with a looking strikeout to end the first. He stranded 2 in that at-bat. The kick in the 1-0. Misses up and in out of the mid of Martellini all the way to the backstop. Coming in to score the 4th run of the game and the 3rd of the inning is Steven Scott. Moving up to 3rd is Romy Gonzalez. It's another pass ball charged to Gian Martellini. That'll be his 2nd. And the slop fest continues for the Kettleers in the field. So now 3 runs in the inning for Orleans. They haven't even put a ball out of the infield yet. They don't have a hit yet. And they still have a potential 4th run of the inning, just 90 feet away, with Groshans in an 0-1 or in a 2-0 count. Time called by Groshans. He steps out and now digs back in. Groshans good with runners in scoring position this year, 7 for 19. Looking to cash another ribby in. The 2-0 pitch, he rips it down the 3rd baseline, make it 8 for 20. Coming in to score the 5th run of the game, the 4th run of the inning is Romy Gonzalez. Groshans takes a big turnaround first, then puts the brakes on there. He's got an RBI single, and Orleans is up 5-0.
You mentioned it a moment ago, Matt, that Orleans already had 3 runs in the inning without the benefit of a base hit into the outfield. You figured that base hit in the outfield was going to come at some point, and it looks like Jason Billis's night is done. The good, the 6 strikeouts out of the 7 outs he recorded, but the bad, what we've seen so far in this top half of the 3rd.
Jason Billis throws 76 pitches. He allows just 2 hits. He walks 3 batters, though. Walks 4, excuse me. Hits a man. Strikes out 6. And overall, a mixed bag for Jason Billis as his night comes to an end with his Kettleers trailing 5-0. We'll give you the details on what will presumably be Zane Collins when we come back. It will indeed be Zane Collins on the Cotuit Kettleers Video Network. Zane Collins, the new pitcher for Mike Roberts. Collins enters with 1 man on and 4 men already home in the top of the 3rd for Orleans. He's the first man out of the pen for Roberts as he comes on in relief of Jason Billis, the Cotuit starter, who throws 75 pitches in just 2 1/3 innings. Strikes out 6, walks 4, allows 2 hits, 2 wild pitches, and a hit batsman. Throw over to first before Zane Collins comes to the plate. And sliding back in safely is that man at first, Jax Groshans. Groshans reached with the first hit of this inning for Orleans, an inning that's already seen 4 Firebirds come across home plate. It was an RBI single for Groshans that scored Romy Gonzalez. Now the kick in the first pitch, grounded towards first. Tolia steps on the bag for 1, the throw down to second, the tag too late as Groshans slides in underneath from Avant. Ball was hit by Lars Nootbaar, the batter. He's out at first for the second out of the inning. It goes down 3 unassisted. And now there's 2 out with a runner in scoring position for Kevin Stroshine. We last saw Zane Collins in a start that he made here against the Harbor Hawks of Hyannis on Monday. First pitch to Stroshine, lifted towards the right side and out of play foul. Collins threw 73 pitches in 4 innings that night and got cuffed around a bit. Gave up 7 hits, 6 runs, 4 of which were earned, 2 strikeouts and a walk. And that was on the heels of his complete game shutout the week before in Wareham. First relief appearance of the summer, or first relief appearance in a while for Zane Collins. The kick in the 0-1. This is down scarce, skipping into Stroshine. And it's 1 ball and 1 strike. Stroshine struck out swinging his first time up. That was in the second inning, an inning in which Jason Billis actually needed only 15 pitches to strike out the side. Problem for Billis, a long first inning and a lengthy third as well. The 1-1 grounded right back through the box, circling Avant. He scoops it off his shoe tops and fires across the diamond in time to retire the side. Orleans gets 4 runs on the strength of just 1 hit. There were 2 walks, a hit batsman and an error in the inning. And as we move to the home half of the third, it's 5-0 Orleans on the Cotuit Kettleers Video Network. Joey Murray back onto the mound after a lengthy delay in the top of the third. That delay came thanks to 8 Orleans Firebirds coming to the plate against Jason Billis and Zane Collins combined for the Kettleers on the mound. 4 of those Firebirds score, and so Joey Murray's now staked to a 5-run advantage after needing just 25 pitches to pick up the night's first 6 outs. He's perfect through his first 2. It's still early, and he'll attack the bottom third of the Kettleer order for the first time tonight. Alexander, Avant, and Martellini. Matt Rigby and Will Greer with you on the Cotuit Kettleers Video Network on this Friday evening in Cotuit. First pitch to Alexander, breaking ball that catches the belt right down the middle for strike 1. 71 on that slurve from Murray. Miles per hour, that is. As he stares into Alexander, gets the sign. Now working quickly from the windup, the 0-1. Breaking ball grounded towards third, moving over to his right, Gonzalez. He has it, deep throw in the hole, makes it in time and on target across the diamond to retire Alexander for out number 1. Fans, we want to remind you that the Cape Cod Baseball League is brought to you, as always, by the Chatham Bars Inn Resort and Spa. The Beach House Grill at Chatham Bars Inn Resort and Spa is the perfect spot for a seaside lunch or evening clan bake. Chatham Bars Inn Resort and Spa, a proud member of leading hotels of the world. Chandler Avant, the batter now. Avant was 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts a couple nights ago in Hyannis. First pitch to Avant, fastball right down the middle for strike 1. Avent now just 8 for his last 40 as he's seen his Cape League average dip down to 221. Still playing every day, though. The 0-1 pitch, breaking ball that misses high for ball 1. Avent's been mostly the everyday shortstop. He's gotten some time at second as well this year. Kicking the 1-1, fastball misses upstairs for ball 2. Joey Murray mixing his pitches well so far this evening. First time through the order as well, which isn't something you often see from starters on the Cape. It's usually predominantly fastballs the first time through. There's a fastball 2-1, and it clips the inside quarter to Avent for strike 2. Murray has the sign. Now the kick and the 2-2 pitch. Wasted away. Foul right towards the photo well. Up the third base line, up the first base line rather. And the count goes even. Photographer ducking for cover there. But he's safe. Kelly Nicholson, the Firebirds manager, checks on him. Now gives a thumbs up with a grin. Meanwhile, Murray with the 2-2 to Avent. Breaking ball swung on and missed. It gets away from Groshans, though. Groshans sheds the mask. The ball goes over to that aforementioned photo well. Groshans picks it up and puts it in his pocket as Chandler Avent reaches the recipient of a drop third strike. So that'll bring up John Martellini. That's how the Kettleers get their first base runner of the night. It's the third strikeout for Joey Murray, the first one swinging. It'll be the 15th strikeout of the summer for Chandler Avent. Now another batter who's strikeout prone in Martellini. Martellini enters tonight with the 10th most Ks in the league. And the first pitch to Martellini, a breaking ball for a strike on the inside corner. It's 0-1. John just 2 for his last 11. Got the night off a couple nights ago at McKeon Park in Hyannis. Now the 0-1. Fastball misses up and in. Breaking ball, rather, misses up and in. Groshans bluffs a throw back behind the runner at first, but puts it in his pocket, and the count goes to 1-1. Conine would be next, barring a double play. Murray working from the stretch for the first time. The kick in the 1-1. Good breaking ball in the inside corner. 73 miles an hour with that slurve from Murray, and he jumps ahead of Martellini, 1-2.
The mix of pitches, Matt, includes a mix of velocities on all of his pitches as he throws over. I mean, we've seen a mid-90s fastball. We've seen a low 90s not mid-90s, I should say. We've seen a mid-80s fastball from Murray and a really low 90s fastball. We've seen that 71, 72 mile an hour curveball and one up near 81, 82. Really impressive pitcher.
The 1-2 to Martellini. There's a fastball that misses up and in at 86 for ball 2. I've been impressed with the way he's attacked the inside corner against right-handed hitters as well. He's not nibbling on the outside corner, which is something we see from these power pitchers up on the Cape League. He's backing these hitters off the plate, making them uncomfortable with the front door breaking ball. 2-2. There's a front door breaking ball, but it misses a little bit high to run the count full. Just the second 3-ball count that Murray's worked into so far tonight. The first one came against Griffin Conine, the first batter of the game. Now Murray comes set. The kick and the payoff pitch. Avent runs. Pitch misses up and in for ball 4. Throw down is moot. And it's the first walk of the night, allowing Martellini to reach, as all of a sudden there are 2 on, with 1 out and the lineup card turned over here in the bottom of the 3rd for Griffin Conine. Joey Murray's been very good with his control so far this summer. Mentioned it in the pregame. In 17 innings for the Firebirds in 2017, he had walked just 4 batters coming into tonight. It's his first walk of the night to allow Martellini to reach. It's just the 5th walk of the summer for Gian. And now a batter who's a little bit more adept at walking, Griffin Conine. Conine also adept at quite a few other things. He's the most dangerous hitter in the Kettleer lineup, to be certain. And he bats here with runners on. First pitch to Conine. Breaking ball misses up and away for ball 1. Just to further put a bow on that point, Conine enters tonight tied for 9th in the Cape League in walks, 6th in on-base percentage, But as Will mentioned his first time up, he's also second in home runs and first in runs driven in. He's also in the midst of a 9-game hitting streak. Kicking the 1-0. Misses upstairs with a fastball to Murray, and it's 2-0. Talked about Steven Scott a couple times tonight. The Firebirds left fielder in this game being perhaps in the middle of one of the best stretches in Cape League history at the plate. Griffin Conine, as I mentioned earlier, might be in the middle of the second best stretch in Cape League history then. In his 9-game hitting streak, he's 12 for 34 with 4 home runs and 13 driven in. 2-0 pitch, he swings, lifts it to straightaway right, but that'll hang up for the right fielder Stroshine. He circles it and gloves it for out number 2. Avant bluffs towards third. Throw comes in, and Avant trots back towards the second base bag now. It's allowed out number 2 for Griffin Conine. And there are 2 away with still 2 on for Grayson Genista.
Griffin getting a center cut, elevated fastball that time from Murray. And Murray very fortunate that Griffin did not send it over the right field wall here at Lowell Park. You could tell Griffin knew right when he hit it that he was just under it. Barely missed a 3-run home run that time.
So now Genista will look to pick up Griffin Conine and perhaps cash in the first Kettleer runs of this game. It's 5-0 Orleans in the bottom of the third. Kettleers don't have a hit yet either. Murray steps off and twirls his hand into his catcher Groshans as if to indicate that he wants to go through the signs again. Now he's back onto the rubber. He has the sign from Groshans. And from the stretch, the first pitch to Genista. Breaking ball at the belt for strike 1. Grayson struck out looking his first time up. It was a 1-2-3 first for the Kettleers. First time they've gone down in order in the first inning in 7 games. Murray comes set to kick in the 0-1. Breaking ball misses down and in. Good block by Groshans as everyone stays put. And the count goes to 1-1. Really good block there by Groshans on a 71-mile-an-hour breaking ball that looked like it was coming from 10-4. No need for Avant to get risky and try to go to third either with 2 outs. So a close call when it's all said and done. And now the 1-1 pitch to Genista. Fastball, and he lifts it towards the left side. Moving over is the right fielder Scott. Left fielder Scott, and he has it bounce out of his glove. It kicks behind him. Coming in to score is Avant. Right behind is Martellini, but he stops at third. And we'll see how they score it. It is ruled a hit, an RBI double for Grayson Genista on a blooper towards the left side that dunked down in front of Scott.
Scott, a very good hitter as we've profiled. He's not the best outfielder, though, and that time was not too fleet of foot over to his right toward the left field line. I think a usual speed outfielder. I don't know what you term as usual speed, but a mediocre speed outfielder probably gets to that fly ball. Scott just lumbering over, and not the most graceful of dives to try to come up with that. Scored a double off of Genista.
Double and a run driven in for Grayson. He now has 8 driven in on the summer. It's his second double. And there are still 2 in scoring position for the Kettleers with Brett Kinnaman coming to the plate. First pitch to Kinnaman. Fastball misses low as it had enough plate but was at the shins, and it's 1-0. It's an unearned run charge to Joey Murray because of the drop third strike that allowed Avant to reach. The kick in the 1-0 to Kinnaman misses up and away for ball 2. Any subsequent runs in this inning would also be unearned, as were it not for that drop third strike, Murray would have been out of this inning. The kick in the 2-0, Kinnaman swings and pops it up towards the right side, giving chase to the first baseman Nootbaar. Groshans with a look as well, but that's out of play, foul, as the count goes to 2-1. Kinnaman popped out to short his first time up. That was back in that 1-2-3 first. But he's been on base in 12 out of his last 13 games now. And with the run driven in a couple nights ago at McKeon Park, Brett's now up to 12 ribbies on the summer. Continues to put together a pretty nice 2017 campaign for the Kettleers, does Brett Kinnaman. He'd like to make it even nicer here. Perhaps cash in a pair of runs and cut this deficit to 2. He twirls the bat, now comes set. Murray set at the belt as well. From the third base side in the stretch, the 2-1. Breaking ball misses down and in for ball 3. 75 on that curveball from Murray. He struggled to get it over as well this inning, as well as he had in his previous 2, I suppose. It's caused him to fall behind the last few hitters. The kick in the 3-1 to Kinnaman. Fastball misses up and away for ball 4. So Brett Kinnaman draws his 19th walk of the summer. He entered tonight second in the Cape League behind only Mickey Gasper, who had 20. Kinnaman remains in second, now just 1 behind Gasper, and more importantly, the Kettleers have loaded the bases with 2 outs as they send Michael Tolia to the plate, but not before a mound visit to check in on Joey Murray. Jamie Quinn, the Firebirds pitching coach, out for this chat with Murray and Groshans. The rest of the infield just kind of milling about for Orleans. And now Ronaldo Cockrum going to go out to the mound and break this up. The Firebirds do have action in their bullpen. There's a righty warming. Not throwing too hard, though. Can't quite see the number yet, but we'll get that in a second. Murray's pitch count is still manageable. I have to figure he's going to stay in this game if this inning, or as long as this inning doesn't balloon out of control. I think the reason for this visit is simply that Murray's lost command, especially of his breaking ball, over the course of the last few hitters. The conference comes to an end. Tolia digs in now, the switch hitter from the left side. Murray back onto the rubber, and we're set for this bases-loaded battle. Martellini at third, Genista at second, and Kinnaman at first. The first pitch to Tolia, fastball right down the middle for strike 1 at 84 miles an hour. Tolia grounded out to first his first time up. As Murray comes set, the long pause, the kick in the 0-1, misses down and in for ball 1. Michael saw his 6-game hitting streak come to an end a couple nights ago in Hyannis. Went 0 for 3 with a walk, so he's still reached in his last 7. He's looked much better at the plate the last 10 days or so. Kick in the 1-1 to Tolia. Fastball on the outside corner at 86 for strike 2. That one barely clipped the outside zone out of the right hand of Joey Murray. He gets the favorable call from Ronaldo Cockrum. And now Tolia in a 2-strike hole. Murray comes set. The kick in the 1-2 pitch. Breaking ball fouled off the mask of Jax Groshans. That was a fastball, actually. Murray ran it up to 88. And Tolia stays alive. 2-strike hitting was a problem for Cotuit in their 4-3 loss a couple nights ago in Hyannis. They went just 1 for 17, did the Kettleers, in 2-strike counts. It's an 0.58 average, and they had entered that game with a 177 average. They saw it dip all the way down to 172. That's what they enter play tonight at, 172. When hitters have 2 strikes on him. Tolia has 2 strikes on him now, with the bases loaded and the Kettleers down by 4 in the home half of the third. The kick in the 1-2 pitch. Tolia watches it miss up and away for ball 2. Tolia's cut down on his strikeouts over the last few games. He has just 1 in his last 16 at-bats, after striking out seemingly every other time he came to the plate through his first 10 or so games. Murray has the sign. Set at the belt, the kick in the 2-2. Breaking ball, Tolia waits on it, lifts it towards the left side. Scott breaks back initially, now charges in and makes the catch on the run, a few feet from the left field foul line. Tolia tried to dunk it down into shallow left just as Genista did. He was unsuccessful, though. And so the inning ends with some promise for the Kettleers, but ultimately short of what they wanted it to. 1 run for Cotuit on 1 hit, an RBI double from Genista, 2 walks, no errors, and they leave them loaded. We move to the 4th, 5-1 Firebirds on the Cotuit Kettleers Video Network. Matt Rigby and Will Greer back from Lowell Park in Cotuit. We move to the fourth. It's 5-1 Firebirds on this Friday evening. 6 combined runs on just 3 combined hits so far in this game. It's been that kind of affair between the top 2 teams in the league so far this evening. And it's already the 3rd pitcher out onto the mound for Mike Roberts tonight to begin inning number 4. Taylor Lehman, the second of 3 available lefties to come into this game for Mr. Roberts tonight out of the bullpen. We already saw Zane Collins. Collins needed just the last 2 outs of the inning back in the 3rd. And the final line on Jason Billis is 2 1/3 innings, 2 hits, 5 runs, 4 earned, 4 walks, and 6 strikeouts. 1 hit batsman and 2 wild pitches. Collins needed just 4 pitches to get his final 2 outs, or the final 2 outs for the Kettleers of the 3rd. Somewhat curiously, that's all Zane Collins gets tonight, as Taylor Lehman's now onto the bump. We last saw Lehman on Tuesday in the Kettleers' 6-run loss to Chatham here at Lowell Park. First pitch of the top of the 4th misses downstairs to Jeff Hotby, who leads things off, and it's 1-0. In that ball game, Lehman went 1 inning, gave up 1 hit, 1 run. It was earned, 1 strikeout, and no walks. The kick in the first, or the 1-0 pitch to Hotby rather, grounded up the first baseline. And a foul ball makes it 1-1. Lehman so far on the summer, the lefty out of Penn State. 2 appearances, no record registered, and an 18 ERA in 1 inning. The 1-1, Hotby again spoils it foul up the first baseline, and it's 1-2. 1 walk and 1 strikeout in that 1 inning for Lehman, 2 hits and 2 earned runs. Second-year Kettleer out of Penn State. Tall left-handed pitcher on the bump for the Kettleers. We'll see how long he's asked to go. With Jason Billis, tonight's starter, having not gone too deep. 1-2 pitch on the outside corner at the knees for strike 3. Ring up Jeff Hotby for out number 1. So Hotby now 0 for 2 with a pair of strikeouts. His rough summer continues. He's now just 9 for 67 to start 2017. And the lineup card turns over for the 3rd time for Jimmy Herron. Herron so far tonight has reached base twice. Singled and scored back in the 1st, then walked to lead off the 3rd. First pitch to Herron. Fastball misses down and in for ball 1. Take a look at the out-of-town scoreboard in this top of the 4th. First Lehman comes set. Now the kick in the 1-0. Herron grounds it right back through the originator. Nice glove by Lehman. Bit reactionary. And then trots over to first and flips to Tolia for out number 2. So Ethan Paul, the batter, now with the bases clear and 2 down. Paul's reached twice as well. Does not have a hit yet. A walk back in the 1st. He was then hit by a pitch in the 3rd and came around to score. Bottom of the 6th at Stony Brook Field. In a matchup of 2 teams who keep jockeying for 2nd place behind these Orleans Firebirds in the Cape League's Eastern Division. Brewster leads YD 1-0 in a pitcher's duel. First pitch to Ethan Paul, a breaking ball for a strike on the outside corner. Only other 2 games in action so far tonight are each early. Top of the 2nd at Doran Park, Bourne leads Chatham 1-0. A 1 pitch, lifted towards the left side by Paul with some carry, backing up Kinnaman, still backing up, and he makes the catch on the warning track on the run to retire the side. Nothing across in that half inning for Orleans. The only other score, bottom 2 in Hyannis. No score between the Commodores and the Harbor Hawks. Move to the home half of the 4th. Still 5-1 Orleans on the Cotuit Kettleers Video Network. Matt Rigby and Will Greer back from Lowell Park in Cotuit. We move to the bottom of the fourth. It's 5-1 Orleans in this matchup of first place teams in the East and West divisions respectively in the Cape League. Orleans with 5 runs on 2 hits, no errors. Cotuit with 1 run on 1 hit and 1 error. Zach Cohn pinch hits for Taryn Vavra in the 5-hole to lead things off in the bottom of the fourth. He'll be followed by Miles Lewis and Luke Alexander, a righty, a switch hitter, and a righty. The first pitch to Zach Cohn, fastball right down the middle at 84. He lays off as it catches the belt for strike 1. Joey Murray back onto the mound for Orleans. He was perfect through his first 8 batters of the night. And then a drop third strike allowed Chandler Avant to reach. 1-0 pitch grounded towards the hole left side, moving over the third baseman Gonzalez. He gloves it and fires across the diamond in time for out number 1. Anyway, a walk behind that Avant drop third strike made it 2 on with 1 out. And Griffin Conine flew out to right for Cotuit in the bottom of the third. But Grayson Genista with a 2-out RBI dunked a double down the left field line and made it 5-1 where we stand now. John Cresto going to pinch hit as well now in the designated hitter's spot. So Miles Lewis out of the game also. First pitch to Cresto, breaking ball that misses outside for ball 1. So Vavra and Lewis each get 1 at-bat. Vavra grounds out to short. Lewis strikes out looking. Now they can hit the showers. The 1-0, Cresto lays off. Fastball on the outside corner for strike 1. Should mention, Will, it is Scout Week across the Cape League. We'll push into late next week as well as the 1-1 catches the knees for a strike to Cresto, 1-2. I think it would be in Mike Roberts' best interest to get all of his players as much playing time and as many at-bats as he possibly can over the course of the next 7 days. The 1-2 fouled off back behind the plate, and Cresto stays alive. That could be the reason for Vavra and Cresto, or Vavra and Lewis to come out of the game, and Cohn and Cresto to come in. He also could turn back to the 3rd inning for Orleans, an inning in which Taryn Vavra committed an error. Maybe that's the reason he's out of the game. The 1-2, big swing and a miss by Cresto, and he's down on strikes. There are 2 away in the inning with the bases clear for Luke Alexander.
Yeah, if there were ever a week all summer, Matt, where it becomes more about the players than the team, this would be that week. So good to see guys like Cresto and Cohn getting ABs in this one with probably upwards of 30 scouts on hand today at Lowell Park.
Cavaliers now have just 2 men left on the bench. First pitch to Alexander, nubbed up the first baseline. That'll stay fair just over the bag. Picking it up is Newt Barr, and he flips underhanded to Murray covering for out number 3. 1 pitch and the 3rd out of the inning picked up by Joey Murray. We move to the 5th, still 5-1 Orleans on the Cotuit Cavaliers Video Network. Matt Rigby back from Lowell Park in Cotuit. We move to the 5th. 5-1 Orleans leads Cotuit as Taylor Lehman's back onto the mound in what has been a little bit of a sloppy and slow-moving game so far, Will.
Sloppy and slow-moving sound like the 2 most perfect adjectives to describe this baseball game so far, Matt. I think you absolutely hit the nail on the head, and that makes 2 in a row. Sloppy and slow-moving for the Cavaliers. We played an over 3-hour game on Wednesday night at McKeon Park in what was a 3-2 score, and tonight a 5-1 score. It's already taken an hour and 40 minutes or so to play the first 4 innings of this one. I don't have anything to do after the game, though. I don't know about the players, the coaches, everyone else. So as long as the sunlight will allow us to play on here at Lowell Park this evening, let's keep playing. It's 5-1, Cotuit with an uphill climb tonight, but certainly a lot of outs to work with. 15 outs to be exact to work with for the Kettleers, and just a 4-run deficit as Taylor Lehman is out onto the mound for inning number 2. Be tasked with retiring 3, 4, and 5 in the Orleans starting 9. Decolati, Scott, and Gonzalez. 2 righties and a lefty against the tall southpaw Taylor Lehman. 5 runs on just 2 hits. No errors for the Orleans Firebirds. 1 run, 1 hit, 1 error for Cotuit. Orleans getting 1 in their half of the first. Jimmy Herron with a single, a stolen base. Pass ball moved up to third, and then he scored on a wild pitch. And then 4 runs on just 1 hit in the Orleans half of the third. A couple walks, a hit batter, an error by Taryn Vavra as well, as Decolati steps in and looks at a first pitch 2-seamer from Lehman that misses outside for ball 1. Nico Decolati, the Loyola Marymount Lion, 0 for 2 so far in this one. Did reach on a fielder's choice and scored a run in the 4-run third. He swings at a 1-0 and chops it through the hole on the left side for a leadoff single. So there's hit number 3 of the night for Orleans. It's the first hit for Decolati, and he's at first with nobody out for Steven Scott. A leadoff single in this ball game for Jimmy Herron lined up the middle. Then Jax Groshans sent a single through the left side in the third, and now the third hit of the night for Orleans, a single through the left side for Decolati. First hit allowed by Lehman, and now Taylor out of the stretch facing Steven Scott, a lefty-lefty matchup. Scott, the left fielder out of Vanderbilt, stepping in, dangling the bat and looking at a first pitch curveball that catches the outer half for strike 1. Temperature remains right around 65 degrees. Not a lot of wind to speak of, though. A comfortable night for baseball. Overcast skies above, but not necessarily gray. There's some sun peeking through the overcast skies. 0-1 curveball misses low, blocked nicely by Martellini. It's 1-1. Scott so far in this one 0 for 1 with a walk and a run. Brings a 6-game hitting streak into this one. And we mentioned this a couple times, but it, I think, is worth repeating that Steven Scott, the hottest hitter in the Cape League as of late. Lehman bluffs a pitch and now throws over. Tolia to a knee to block that pickoff attempt. Scott coming into this one 17 for 36 over his last 10 ball games. He has 4 home runs and 20 runs driven in over his last 10. And the last time he played here at Lowell Park, he was just a 120 hitter. He comes in tonight with a 328 average. Nobody out, 5-1 ball game as Lehman again throws over, and again without a dive, Decolati back in safely. Nico Decolati with not a ton of speed to speak of at first base. So far this summer, the Loyola Marymount Lion is 1 for 2 on the base paths. Not too big of a lead at first. As the 1-1 from Lehman, a fastball chopped high to the second baseman Alexander, who flips to Avant for 1, on to first, in time a double play. Steven Scott, we mentioned it before, not the fleetest of foot, and I didn't think Alexander and Avant would be able to turn that double play, but they do indeed do so, and just like that, there's 2 gone in the 5th for Romy Gonzalez. Perfect segue into mentioning that Zach Cohn is taking over at third. He, of course, came in the last half inning for Taryn Vavra. So Alexander moves over to second base. And there are 2 away for Romy Gonzalez, the 5-hitter. Miami versus Penn State, as Gonzalez looks at a first pitch fastball low for ball 1.
Just like the Orange Bowl, huh?
Just like the Orange Bowl. You read my mind. Gonzalez 0 for 1 in this one. 5-1 score. 1-0 fastball gets by Martellini to the backstop. It's 2-0.
86? Somewhere in the 80s, I think.
Yeah, mid to late 80s for sure. Lehman out of the windup. Delivers a 2-0 that's rifled into left field in front of Brett Kinnaman for a 2-out base hit. So 2 singles in the inning now for Orleans, but of course, Decolati erased on the double play, and there's a 2-out base runner rather, for Jax Groshans. What do you got?
Nothing yet. A lot of Miami, Nebraska, which was an Orange Bowl matchup seemingly every other year. I don't know if Penn State and Miami ever met in the Orange Bowl, actually.
Grosjean's the Kansas Jayhawk for the second time in this ball game. Had all the catching gear on with 2 outs in the inning, but now will have to come to the plate. So he's a bit delayed taking that gear off. Now wipes some spit on his batting gloves. Hits his cleats with his bat. Gets the sign from the Orleans third base coach and now steps in. Grosjean's 1 for 2 with an RBI single. Righty on lefty now. Kansas versus Penn State. As Lehman fires a first pitch fastball that's bounced high but foul up the third base line for strike 1.
The two never met in the Orange Bowl. They came close. Each one's been, I think, 4 times at least from my count. Miami might have been 5, but they met in the Fiesta Bowl, we were told. It doesn't seem to make sense. Miami, Penn State in the Fiesta Bowl?
No.
What were they thinking? That must have been BCS era.
5-1 scores. Lehman staring down Gonzalez at first and now throws over. Romy back in safely. Two outs here in the top half of the 5th. This game crawls right along from Lowell Park tonight. Grosjean's the batter from the right side. Gonzalez runs. 0-1 fastball misses high. Throw down to second. Not in time. Delayed call from third base umpire Bob Dwyer that time. The throw kind of lollipopped from Gian Martellini. Didn't have a ton of velocity on it. It's Gonzalez's 7th stolen bag of the summer, and he's now in scoring position. A 1-1 count on Grosjean's.
I'll give myself half credit, though, Will, because it was in 1986 that Miami and Penn State met for the national championship, but it was at the Fiesta Bowl. Partial points, right?
Was the Fiesta Bowl still played in Phoenix at the time?
I believe so. I don't know if it's ever been played anywhere else.
Gonzalez dancing off of second. Now he heads for third, and the 1-1 foul back to the screen. Romy just kind of slowly walked towards second, and then as soon as Lehman came to the plate, he was sprinting, but he'll have to jog back to second base now. It's a 1-2 count on Grosjean's.
It was played at Sun Devil Stadium in downtown Tempe.
Unbelievable.
You ever been?
I have before. Have you?
I have.
Interesting place to watch a football game from. It's kind of built into the side of the red rocks out there in Tempe, Arizona.
I just watched it on top of the hill.
Plenty of interesting vantage points. Arizona State has got it going on in terms of a college campus. 1-2, fastball inside, popped up right side. Now Alexander ranges back onto the outfield grass. He's called off by a charging Ginesta, who gloves at his knees for out number 3. The Firebirds get 2 singles in their half of the 5th, but they cannot add to their 5-1 lead. And we're halfway home now from Lowell Park. It's 5-1 Orleans on the Cotuit Kettleers Video Network. Halfway home from Lowell Park, heading toward the bottom half of the 5th now from Cotuit. Will Greer and Matt Rigby alongside you on this Friday evening from Cape Cod's Field of Dreams here at Lowell Park. 8-9-1 due up for Cotuit. Avant, Martellini, and Conine against the Kent State Golden Flash starter Joey Murray, who's on for inning number 5. A 5-1 ball game, and Murray needing just 3 outs here in the 5th to be in line for his 3rd win of the summer. Avant, the first batter here of inning number 5 for Cotuit, looks at a first pitch bender that never bent, misses inside for ball 1. Chandler 0 for 1. He did score the only run of the game for Cotuit, though. He swings at a 1-0 and bounces it slowly to Gonzalez at 3rd, who kind of hop steps into a ground ball pickup that time and then throws to 1st for out number 1. Never seen that before. Romy not in any rush to pick up that ground ball. Kind of danced his way into the motion to field it with his glove and then picked it up and threw a strike to Newbar at 1st. Romy with 6 errors coming in. Maybe some of those errors coming on some lackadaisical plays like that one, but all's well that ends well for the Orleans 3rd baseman, and there's one gone for Gian Martellini. No, it's Thomas Dillard. I look up and see a guy in the left-handed hitter's batter's box. Dillard, first pitch swing, pops it up to the left fielder Steven Scott, who ranges over and gloves for out number 2. That was quick for Thomas. And there are 2 gone now in the 5th. Joey Murray has retired 6 straight Kettleers, and Griffin Conine comes up. Joey Murray has really only labored in the 3rd inning of this one. That was, of course, when Chandler Avant reached on the dropped 3rd strike. Then a couple walks and an RBI double for Ginista blooped the other way. Conine steps in and looks at a first pitch fastball low. It's 1-0. Other than that, though, he's been in a groove, coaxing very weak contact from Kettleer batters. Weak ground balls, pop-ups as well. 1-0. Conine chops up the first baseline foul. It's 1-1. We expect the All-Star rosters to be announced in a few days. I have to look up when they were announced last summer. The All-Star game next Saturday night, July 22nd at Wareham. But you'd have to think Joey Murray will certainly be an All-Star for the Firebirds. 1-1. Fastball misses low and inside. It's 2-1. And Matt, you can make a case for 8, 9, 10 of these Orleans Firebirds for being All-Stars. They are just loaded. The lineup loaded tonight, as we've seen, 1 through 7, really good players. 2-1. Breaking ball misses low. It's 3-1. Joey Murray, certainly All-Star worthy, you'd have to think. Daniel Lynch, a guy we saw earlier this summer.
Chandler Day.
Chandler Day, a starter. Ryan Rollison has been really good. You don't have the number 1 average and the number 1 ERA coming in without really good players. I know that sounds obvious, but the 3-1 foul back to the screen. It's 3-2. Just really good numbers top to bottom for Kelly Nicholson's Firebirds this summer.
Could just send Orleans and Mickey Gasper against the West Division.
Conine calls time and steps out. You're not too far off. I mean, Orleans regular starters, you can make a case 1 through 9, all those guys being starting guys in the All-Star game. 3-2 into Conine, line to deep right field. Stroshine ranges back and gloves on the run for a really nice out number 3. Kevin Stroshine gliding back to his right that time. Robs Griffin Conine of extra bases and make it 7 straight retired for the Kent State starter, Joey Murray. We'll head to the 6th now from Lowell Park. It's still Orleans 5 and Cotuit 1 on the Cotuit Kettleers Video Network. Back at Cotuit, 5-1 ball game as we move to the 6th. This game finally having some pace to it, and Taylor Lehman out for his 3rd inning of work, Matt.
All right, well, thank you very much. Lehman will attack 7, 8, and 9, the 3-2 up for the Firebirds. Nootbaar, Stroshine, and Hopeby. As Thomas Dillard will receive pitches from Taylor Lehman, having pinch hit for Martellini in the bottom of the 5th. The first pitch of the top of the 6th is swung through by Nootbaar for strike 1. Nootbaar 0 for 2 so far tonight. Strikeout looking in the 2nd and a ground out to 1st in the 3rd. Lehman stares in a lefty-lefty matchup. The 0-1 spoiled foul towards the left side by Nootbaar. 90 miles an hour there from Taylor Lehman, and it's 0-2. Austin Kitchen up and throwing in the Kettleer pen. Still has his Coastal Carolina hoodie on, though, so he could still just be getting stretched out. Already seen 2 lefties out of the pen tonight for Mike Roberts. The 0-2 lifted into straightaway center. Moving over to his left is Genista, and he'll pick it out of the air to retire Nootbaar for out number 1. Kevin Stroshine, the batter now. Stroshine 0 for 2, struck out swinging in the 2nd, grounded out to short to end the 3rd. Taylor Lehman's looked pretty good so far. First pitch misses up and away to Stroshine for ball 1. Will just mentioned it. This is the 3rd inning on the mound for Lehman. He worked a 1-2-3 4th and gave up 2 hits in the 5th, but got helped out by a 4-6-3 double play from Steven Scott. The 1-0 misses downstairs and inside to Stroshine, and it's 2-0. Kevin Stroshine, quite the power hitter. He does play in a mid-major conference, playing for Tennessee Tech in the Ohio Valley Conference. As a big swing and a miss comes at the 2-0, and it's 2-1. But all things considered, he's amassed 29 home runs as Stroshine through his first 2 college seasons. He hit a grand slam in his very first at-bat at Tennessee Tech. 2-1, big swing and a miss on an up-and-away heater, and it's 2-2. He's driven in 133 runs in 2 college seasons. 73 his freshman year for Tennessee Tech, and 60 during his sophomore year that just completed. The kick in the 2-2, big swing and a rifle towards straightaway center. That'll dunk down in front of Genista for a 1-out hit. So Stroshine's now 1 for 3. And the Firebirds get a base runner for their 9-hitter, Jeff Hopeby. Fans, we want to remind you that there's one place to get everything you need, the Kettleer store at Lowell Park, which is open during all Kettleer's home games. They sell hats, t-shirts, sweatshirts, keychains, baseballs, jackets, and everything else you could possibly need. First pitch to Hopeby fouled off the screen, 0-1. Be sure to stop by and purchase all your Cotuit Kettleers merchandise at the Cotuit Kettleers store at Lowell Park or online at www.kettleers.org.
You purchased a mini bat the other day from the store?
I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but I did.
It'll be good to look at in the peaks of winter. Reminder of the times that were on these 65, 70-degree nights at Lowell Park. Not that you asked for my opinion of what you're going to do with it.
Hope he shows bunt at the 0-1 and comes up empty. It's 0-2.
Point being, a lot of stuff you can get at the store. A lot of stuff that you might not think would be available for a Cape League team is certainly available online or here at Lowell Park.
We were told that there was a shipment of new items that came into the store before the game tonight. Kicking the 0-2, breaking ball lifted towards the left side, and we'll do it once more. It's the type of thing you and I have to be told, right? We don't go see it ourselves.
But if we are told, we'll certainly pass along the message.
Lefty-lefty matchup here for Hopeby. Now just 9 for 67 to start his Firebird career. The kick in the 0-2 misses down and outside. Nice block by Dillard, and the count goes to 1-2. Told you the other night, I'm kind of determined to buy a mini bat from all 10 parks. Might get some cool colors, a sea green mini bat when we go back to Stony Brook Field. We have one more trip to every park in the league, at least one more. The 1-2, Hootby swings and lifts it foul out of play left side. This is the last regular season meeting between the Firebirds and Kettleers. It's the first team of the other 9 in the league that the Kettleers will finish up regular season play with. Until they meet again. I think we said that offhandedly when we were in Orleans a couple weeks ago. Looks like more of a reality now. Or a possibility, that is. 1-2. Good breaking ball catches Hootby on the knees. And he's retired on strikes for the 3rd straight time as there are 2 away for Jimmy Herron.
Certainly can envision a scenario in which these two teams do meet in the CCBL Championship Series, both being first in their respective divisions. And not as a shot to Cotuit, but I think Orleans at this point would be the more surefire pick for that CCBL Championship Series. I mean, they are far and away the best team, run differential-wise, numbers-wise, record-wise as well. We've seen it tonight at Lowell Park. Why?
First pitch to Herron misses down and in for ball 1. You bring up something interesting with run differential. Yes, these two teams are atop their respective divisions, but the Kettleers entered tonight with a 14-11-1 record and a +6 run differential. Orleans enters with a 16-10 record and a +50 run differential. The 1-0 pitch to Herron misses up and away for ball 2.
And we also mentioned this on the pregame show, but the Firebirds do come in losers of 4 out of their last 6, but those 4 losses by combined 5 runs. This is a team that really doesn't lose too many games in lopsided fashion. They're always there in the last couple innings, and they have the big bats who can deliver in those close games late when the score is a little close.
2-0 pitch instead of throw over to check in on Stroshine, who traipses back. Firebirds had won 13 out of 15 before this current 2-4 stretch that they're in. Overall, they've won 15 of their last 21 after starting 1-4. Kicking the 2-0. That misses upstairs to Herron for ball 3. Good eye from the Firebird leadoff hitter out of Duke. We've mentioned the very baseline surface numbers for the Firebirds being very good. We've also mentioned some of the peripherals tonight. They're really good with runners in scoring position. Good with the bases loaded as the 3-0 catches the zone for a strike, and it's 3-1. They're really good at winning different types of games. I found this before today's game, Will. At home, Orleans has just a 267 average, but they have a 201 ERA. On the road, a 289 average and a 356 ERA as the 3-1 misses high to Herron for ball 4. And there are 2 on with 2 outs. Still here in the top of the 6th for Ethan Paul, the batter. So what that tells me is at home, at Eldridge Park, a little bit more of a pitcher-friendly park, the Firebirds turn to their pitching. On the road, where there are quite a few bandboxes elsewhere around the league, the Firebirds know how to get just enough run output to win. Sounds like a Kelly Nicholson team to me.
Yep. Sounds like the Chicago Cubs from a season ago. That was a team that certainly adjusted to the kind of ballpark they were playing in.
First pitch to Ethan Paul's a good breaking ball in the outer black, and it's 0-1.
And to your point, Matt, we've talked about this offense all night long. Looking at the stat sheet right now, there are 4 regular starters for Orleans with sub-2 ERAs, Joey Murray being one of those guys. I mean, he might not even crack the 1-2-3 playoff series rotation, which is incredible for how good he's been so far this season.
0-1, check swinging, an ugly one as Paul went around, says Ronaldo Cockrum, and it's 0-2. Good down and away breaking ball there from Lehman.
Got 2 back of the bullpen guys as well, a couple closer-like arms who have ERAs right around 2. Their closer has 5 saves. It's Josh Hyatt out of UNC, touches 97, 98 with these. Not easy to poke a hole in this Firebirds attack. You figure they're probably here to stay for the rest of the summer.
Lehman comes set at that belt. Now the 0-2 from the stretch misses down and away for ball 1. A couple years ago, the Firebirds won over 30 games.
31, I believe, which... Was that a record?
I don't know for sure.
We'll call it a record.
I'm afraid to say. I thought about including it when I started the sentence.
It was one of the most impressive seasons in Cape League history.
How about that? The 1-2 to Paul misses just outside for ball 2. I promise I'm making a point here, though. I just have to look it up. Orleans did not win the Cape League title that year. That's my point. In fact, they didn't even make it to the championship series because they were upset by the YD Red Sox. It's all a matter about how you play in the first weeks of August. 2-2 pitch. Paul watches a breaking ball that misses just low, full count. Ethan Paul has a very good eye. Mentioned it before the game, or earlier in the game, rather. He enters tonight with the second highest on-base percentage in the whole Cape League. 11 walks and now 6, or 12 walks now and 6 hit by pitches, as he has one of each of those so far in 3 plate appearances tonight. Merry-go-round in motion. The 3-2 pitch misses up and away. Ball 4, and the bases are loaded. It's the 6th walk issued by Kettleer pitching tonight to go with that hit batsman. 2nd walk drawn by Ethan Paul. And now Mike Roberts is out of the dugout, and he's going to pull Taylor Lehman from this game. The new pitcher will come on into a bases-loaded 2-out jam. The Kettleers already down by 4 here in the top of the 6th. We'll let you know who it is when we come back on the Cotuit Kettleers Video Network. Matt Rigby and Will Greer back from Lowell Park in Cotuit. Taylor Lehman's night comes to an end. He's responsible for all 3 men on base with 2 outs here in the top of the Orleans 6th. It's 5-1. Orleans leads Cotuit, and the new pitcher for the Kettleers is the righty out of Lipscomb, Kyle Kemp. Kemp making his 7th appearance of the summer. He's got a 6.23 ERA through his first 6, 8 2/3 innings, 6 earned runs, 10 strikeouts, and 8 walks. With the bases loaded, he'll face the 3-hitter in the Firebird lineup, Nico Decolati. The first pitch to Decolati, good breaking ball in the outside corner at the knees from Kemp. Looked like a slider there at 73 miles an hour to jump ahead. It's 0-1. Decolati so far 1 for 3. Struck out looking in the first, singled in the 5th, reached via fielder's choice in the 3rd, and came around to score. That was a 4-run Orleans 3rd, although the Firebirds amassed just 1 hit in that inning. The 0-1. Another breaking ball, this one a bit low, and it's 1-1. Runner at 3rd is Stroshine. He's singled. Then a 2-out walk of Jimmy Herron. And a 2-out walk of Ethan Paul. Herron's at second, Paul's at first. Decalotti looking to cash him in. The 1-1 to Decalotti. Big swing and a miss. 89 on that fastball up and away from Kemp. And he jumps ahead of Decalotti 1-2 now. Decalotti 0 for 2 with runners in scoring position so far tonight. He's now 9 for 23 on the season. No home runs, 9 driven in. 328 hitter entering play tonight. Kemp comes set, has the sign from Dillard. Now the kick and the 1-2. Fastball swung on and missed. Strike 3, inning over, side retired. No runs, 1 hit, no errors, 2 walks, and Kyle Kemp comes into the game to strike out Decalotti and leave him loaded. We move to the home half of the 6th, 5-1 Orleans on the Cotuit Cavaliers Video Network. Riley Thompson first out of the pen for Kelly Nicholson tonight. He comes on in relief of Joey Murray for the bottom of the 6th. Joey Murray goes 5 innings, gives up 1 hit, 1 run. It was unearned, 4 strikeouts and 2 walks as his stellar summer rolls right along. It's 5-1 the score. Orleans leads Cotuit. And that's the lead that Thompson will be the first man tasked with protecting. Grayson Genesta leads things off for the Kettleers in the bottom of the 6th and chops the first pitch he sees foul back behind his feet. It's 0-1. Genesta so far tonight 1 for 2. Drove in the only Kettleer run of the night with an RBI double that came with 2 outs back in the 3rd to the opposite field. He also struck out looking in the 1st. The 0-1 pitch grounded towards short. Backing up on it is Hotby. He has it. Long throw deep in the hole, but he makes it in time for out number 1. Matt Rigby and Will Greer with you from Cotuit on the Cotuit Kettleers Video Network. I want to thank you for tuning in or listening in wherever and however you may be doing either of those things. Brett Kinnaman, the batter now. He's 0 for 1, reached back in the third with a walk. That was his 19th walk of the summer. Also popped out to short in the first. First pitch catches the knees to Kinnaman out of the right hand of Thompson, and it's 0-1. Thompson making his third appearance of the summer for Kelly Nicholson, one of the few arms out of the pen that struggled a bit this summer, albeit in a very, very small sample size. He's worked just an inning and 2/3 now thanks to that ground out for Grayson Genista. He's given up 3 hits, 1 run that was earned, 2 walks, and a strikeout. 6.75 ERA as the 0-1 pitch runs inside to Kinnaman at 95 miles an hour. Looked like a cutter there from Thompson, and it's 1-1. Thompson a righty, as is every other available reliever for Kelly Nicholson. Does not have a single lefty in his bullpen. The 1-1 grounded towards his own dugout. And it's 1-2 now to Kinnaman. I count 8 right-handed relievers for Kelly. And if you're looking for that aforementioned hole, Will, maybe there it is. Maybe they need to go out at the deadline and get a lefty reliever. The kick in the 1-2 to Kinnaman misses downstairs for ball 2.
I see just one, Matt. Graham Stinson has made 1 start and 7 appearances out of the bullpen. Lefty out of Duke. But your point is well taken that there's not a lot of depth there. Most of the lefties on the pitching staff are starters, Stinson included one time.
2-2 to Kinnaman, big swing and a miss. 96-mile-an-hour fastball there from Thompson as Kinnaman takes a pause after coming up empty, as if to gather himself after that pitch from Thompson. And there are 2 away with nobody on for Michael Tolia. I guess with the plethora of lefty starters and very good lefty starters that Kelly Nicholson has at his disposal, if he really wanted to, during playoff baseball, he could use one of them out of the pen in a high-leverage situation against a lefty. First pitch to Tolia, grounded towards the Orleans dugout, and it's 0-1.
Kelly doesn't seem like the kind of guy that would think about that beforehand, though. Kind of goes with the flow, whatever his heart is telling him on any given night. And it's worked so far.
Oh, 1 pitch skips into Tolia, and it's 1-1. We should mention we found out between innings that the Hyannis Mets in 1971, is that what you told me?
79.
79 had 33 victories. That's the most ever in a Cape League regular season. 1-1 misses down and into Tolia for ball 2. As far as we know, though, the 31 victories for Orleans 2 years ago was the 2nd most ever in a regular season. Thompson gets the sign. Now a deep breath. The kick and the 2-1 pitch to Tolia. Misses outside for ball 3. 95 on that fastball from Thompson. Starters in this game, not the only eye candy for scouts tonight, as Riley Thompson is firing in pellets so far. Working quickly. Here's the 3-1, and it misses downstairs and in for ball 4. 96 on that fastball from Thompson. But 4 out of the 5 pitches that Tolia sees miss the strike zone, as Michael draws walk number 7 of the summer, rather. And Terran Vavra is the batter. Zach Cohn checked that, as Cohn came on to pinch hit for Vavra back in the 4th. Now it'll be at-bat number 2 for Zach after he grounded out to 3rd in that previous trip. Thompson now from the stretch. The first pitch, Cohn lifts it towards the right side, but that'll fade foul fast and drop down for strike 1. Fade foul fast. There's one of those 10 times quickly. I would have said 10 times fast, but that would have been redundant.
I did it 3 times in my head and then stumbled after that. Tough one.
Thompson comes set. Checks on Tolia. Long pause. Now the kick in the 0-1. Cohn grounds it towards first. Picked up by Newt Barr, and he takes 1 step to put his left foot on the first base bag and retires Zach Cohn. No runs, no hits, 1 walk, no errors, and 1 runner left. To the 7th we go, 5-1 Orleans on the Cotuit Cavaliers Video Network. We head to the 7th from Lowell Park in Cotuit, 5-1. Orleans leads your Kettleers after 6 innings of play. Kyle Kemp onto the mound after picking up the final out of inning number 6, top half that is. He did so with the bases loaded, and he did so by striking out Nico Decalati, the Orleans 3-hitter. He'll now go after 4, 5, and 6. The scheduled hitters in the Orleans lineup: Stephen Scott, Romy Gonzalez, and Jax Groshans, lefty, righty, and righty. Scott 0 for 2 so far tonight. First pitch to Scott misses down and in. Fastball there that Kemp overthrew a bit. And it's 1-0. 5 runs, 5 hits, no errors for Orleans. 1 run, 1 hit, 1 error for Cotuit. Matt Rigby and Will Greer with you on this Friday evening. 1-0 pitch, grounded towards second. Easy second hop for Alexander. He gloves it and goes to first in time for out number 1. So Kettleer pitching's done a pretty good job with Stephen Scott, who entered as hot as a comet tonight. He's now 0 for 3. And Romy Gonzalez, the batter, who is 1 for 2. Single, a walk, and an E4 have allowed Romy Gonzalez to reach 3 times. He scored once. He also has a steal in tonight's game to give him 7 on the summer. First pitch to Gonzalez misses upstairs for ball 1. Gonzalez out of Miami. Upright stance from the right side. Swings and breaks his bat at the 1-0. Grounded towards the shortstop Avan. He picks it up and fires calmly across the diamond for out number 2. I say calmly because the bat was also flying directly towards Chandler Avan. It took a left turn at the last second. But good concentration there from the Kettleer shortstop to stay on the ball and pick up out number 2.
Yeah, you know, the big black bat flying toward you is the first thing that your eyes naturally pick up. Fortunately, that bat did not fly too close to Chandler, and so he was able to focus on the ground ball and throw out Gonzalez for out number 2.
Full disclosure, I've lost count a bit, but I think that's number 11 induced by a Kettleer pitcher on the summer.
I don't think anybody can double check you there, so we'll go with 11.
Well, I would have to be within the target range, I think. I don't think I could say 34 and get away with it, but somewhere between 10 and 15. First pitch to Jax Groshans misses down and in for ball 1. We've been making a lot of stuff up of late, haven't we?
No comments.
Bases clear and 2 away for Groshans. 1-0 pitch looped into shallow right. That'll hang up enough, though, for Conine, who makes the catch to retire the side. A 1-2-3 inning for Kyle Kemp in the 7th. He needs just 6 pitches to pick up those 3 outs. Time to stretch at Lowell Park. 5-1 Orleans on the Cotuit Cavaliers Video Network. Middle of the 7th from Lowell Park. Matt Rigby and Will Greer with you on the Cotuit Kettleers Video Network. It's 5-1 Orleans as we take the turn and head to the bottom of inning number 7. Riley Thompson back onto the mound for the Firebirds after working a scoreless 6th inning against the 2 through 5 hitters of the Kettleers. And now the 6-hole hitter, John Cresto, leads things off in the bottom of inning number 7. Cresto, Alexander, and Avant, trio of righties due up, and the first pitch to John misses down and outside for ball 1. Cresto came on to pinch hit for Miles Lewis in the DH slot back in the 4th. He struck out swinging, so he's 0 for 1. The 1-0 pitch lifted into shallow center field, and that'll dunk down for a leadoff single in front of Decolati. So John Cresto gets his first hit in a while. And the Kettleers have a leadoff base runner for the first time all night.
It's the first hit, Matt, since a 5th inning single back at Falmouth on the 5th of July. So that's got to feel good for John.
Luke Alexander, the batter now. Alexander pops up the first pitch he sees, fading fast towards the right side in foul ground, and that gets out of play for strike 1. And those are in that 9-day span between John Cresto hits. Luke Alexander had himself quite a go of things. He went on a 9-game hitting streak. And entering tonight, he was 11 for his last 30. He's 0 for 2, so now 11 for 32. Cresto just back in time before a throw over from Riley Thompson to stay put at first base. Alexander at one point had his average creeping towards 300, now back down below 280. The 0-1 pitch misses upstairs to Luke for ball 1. It's obviously a much shorter sample size, but Luke is now 0 for his last 9 at the plate after that hitting streak was snapped. 1-1 pitch. It's a good fastball swung on and missed by Alexander on the outside corner, and it's 1-2. Chilly evening from Lowell Park. It was a chilly day, really from sunrise on all across Cape Cod. Barely got over 70 degrees on this Friday. Overcast and gloomy. But a better forecast ahead. The 1-2 grounded right back through the box, could be 2. The shortstop Hopi picks it up, spins while stepping on the bag, and fires on to first in time to complete the double play. Pretty looking work there from Jeff Hopi as it goes down 6-3 to retire Cresto and Alexander. Now Chandler Avant comes to the plate.
The way that ball was hit, Matt, you could see it evolving, and at least in my opinion, it seemed like Hopi's only play was going to be the play that he made. It was just a question of if the footwork would be there, and a really nice play, as you said, to glove and kind of step on the second base bag while spinning all in one motion before firing on to first.
First pitch to Avant catches the outside corner for strike 1. 94 on that fastball from Thompson. As quickly as the Kettleers received their first leadoff base runner of the night, it's erased. 0-1 pitch, good breaking ball on the outside black, and it's 0-2. It's a rare night when the Kettleers take 7 innings to put the leadoff man on for the first time. We've talked about it quite a bit over the course of the last week. As the 0-2 pitch misses outside to Avant, it's 1-2. The Kettleers have been very adept at getting the leadoff man on all year. They enter play tonight with a .372 team leadoff on base percentage. That's leadoff on base starting an inning. 1-2, fouled back out of play by Avant, and we'll do it once more. Chandler's 0 for 2 so far tonight. He did score the only Kettleer run of the game. It was back in the 3rd after he reached via drop third strike, and then came around on a Grayson Genisto RBI double. Ground out to 3rd, his other time up in the 5th. The kick in the 1-2 pitch to Avant misses up and away for ball 2. It's been a heavy dose of fastballs from Riley Thompson against the Kettleer hitters in the last 2 innings. Seemingly every single one of them registering at mid to high 90s on the Lowell Park radar gun on the scoreboard. kicking the 2-2 to Avant. Good breaking ball at 82. Check swing, appeal down to first, and Ron Adams says that he went around. So after a heavy dose of fastballs, Riley Thompson goes with the hook and gets Chandler Avant to retire the side. No runs, 1 hit, no errors, and nobody left. We move to the 8th. Still 5-1 Orleans on the Cotuit Cavaliers Video Network. Matt Rigby back from Lowell Park in Cotuit on the Cotuit Cavaliers Video Network. It's been a quiet night at the plate for the Cavaliers. They trail the Firebirds 5-1 on the scoreboard, and Cotuit's amassed just 2 hits so far tonight as Kyle Kemp comes back onto the mound for inning number 8. Here to take you the rest of the way home, my broadcast partner, Will Greer.
All right, Matt, thank you very much. However long the rest of the way home is, we might just be playing 8 innings tonight. A brief discussion just had between Kelly Nicholson, Mike Roberts, and a few umpires. It's a first pitch fastball from Kemp into Nootbaar, misses low for ball 1. The sun is starting to peek through the clouds down the left field line here at Lowell Park above the tree canopy. See some shades of blue down that left field line in the sky, but things are certainly darkening at Lowell Park. 1-0, fastball outer half, the count 1-1 on Nootbaar. This game had 6 combined runs through the first 3 innings, but in the last 4, no combined runs, just 4 combined base hits, all singles. It's been a slow-moving, not a lot of action kind of Friday night from Lowell Park. Nootbaar 0 for 3 from the left side. Swings at a 1-1 and launches it to deep right. Konai ranging back onto the warning track. Griffin makes the play about 350 feet away from home plate, and there's 1 gone in the 8th for Kevin Stroshine. Credit Kyle Kemp. He's been really good in this one. The combination of Lehman and Kemp have been quite good in relief of Jason Billis if you're looking for a silver lining at home. 5-1 score and a pinch hitter coming up for Orleans. It's Brandon Riley, the left-handed batter, to face the righty Kemp. Riley out of the University of North Carolina, getting a rare night off. Just his 3rd night off, in fact, since he's arrived in Cape Cod. Sports a .289 average coming into this one as Kemp fires a first pitch fastball that misses just high for ball 1. Stroshine, the Tennessee Tech right fielder's night is done. He finishes 1 for 3. Riley now the batter, 6 foot, 178 pounds, out of Burlington, North Carolina. 1-0 from Kemp. Cracked bat, pop up left side. Avant ranges back, calls everyone off, and gloves while jogging back to his right and shallow left center for out number 2. 2 up, 2 down now for Kemp, and Jeff Hopeby, the 9-hitter, now the batter. Will Greer and Matt Rigby alongside you. Want to remind you quickly that Cape Cod Baseball is brought to you by Cape Cod Healthcare. Urgent care is now available at 4 Cape Cod Healthcare locations. Open after hours and weekends, staffed by ER physicians, expert care when you need it. Learn more at capecodhealth.org/urgent care. First pitch changeup into Hopi, lined into straightaway center. Genista charges but cannot make the play. So it's a 2-out single for Jeff Hopi. He was 0 for 3 with 3 strikeouts before that AB. It's just the 10th hit of the summer for the San Diego Torero. And there's a 2-out base runner for the top of the lineup and Jimmy Herron. 6th hit of the ball game for Orleans. They scored most of their runs without the benefit of too many hits. In fact, all 5 runs for Orleans in this game scored when Orleans had just 2 base hits. A lot of walks, a hit batter, an error as well. Breaking ball into Herron, inside corner. Back pick down to first from Dillard. And Hopi back in safely. It was a run on just 1 hit in the first, and then 4 runs on just 1 hit in the third for Kelly Nicholson's Firebirds. Walk, hit batter, walk, error, single, allowing 4 Firebirds to come home in that third. 0-1, fastball misses low, the count 1-1. It's not like the run for Cotuit in their half of the third was the most impressive of runs. I mean that because the rally was started on a 1-out dropped third strike, then a walk, a bloop double the other way, scoring Chandler Avant. 1-1, Bender, Herron swings and fouls it out of play up the first base line. Jimmy Herron, the Duke Blue Devil, 1 for 2 with a pair of walks, a single, a stolen base, a run. Came into this one the number 5 hitter in the Cape League. A speedy guy. He was a high school football receiver, had multiple D1 offers to play football. 1-2, fouled out of play again. One of 2 guys in Kelly Nicholson's starting 9 who did have those Division I offers out of high school in football, but chose to play baseball because their baseball offers were a little bit more high profile than the football offers. Herron boasts really good speed. Was a 4-year starter at wide receiver for his high school football team at LaSalle. 1-2, fastball inside. It clips the back of Jimmy Herron, who tosses the bat in the shin guards toward the Orleans dugout and now jogs on to first base. 2 on now, still 2 outs, and Ethan Paul the batter.
Firebirds continued to add strength to the hypothesis that hit by pitches are not simply randomness. 2 more tonight for the Firebirds. Now they've been hit by 26 pitches as a team so far this summer. And the most likely culprits coming into tonight's game were Jimmy Herron and Ethan Paul, as they had 4 and 5 respectively, and they've each been hit.
Paul steps in, swings at a first pitch fastball and fouls it out of play down the left field line. That was a 92-mile-an-hour fastball, Matt, from Kyle Kemp. That Herron just kind of turned his back on him. He took it like a football player. It makes sense that took a lot of hits in high school, you'd have to think, as a wide receiver, and that time certainly turned his back into a 92-mile-an-hour heater from Kyle. Certainly adds to the hypothesis that it's no coincidence for the Firebirds. 5-1 score as Kemp fires a fastball that never technically occurred because Ethan Paul steps out before the 0-1 pitch. Paul, the Vanderbilt Commodore out of the state of Washington, so far in this one, 0 for 1 with 2 walks and that hit by pitch back in the 4-run third. Stands into the left side, just 5'10", 175 pounds, with sneaky pop. 0-1 fastball at 93 on the outer black for strike 2. Paul with 2 home runs in this 2017 summer. We saw one of those 2 here at Lowell Park back on June 28th. Paul models his game after Robinson Cano. Not the biggest of guys, but a lot of pop. A good defender as well at second base. He's a Seattle Mariners fan as well. That makes sense, being from Bellevue, Washington. 0-1 breaking ball blocked nicely by Dillard. It's 1-2. And I have here, Matt, in a 5-1 ball game in the 8th as Dillard throws a new baseball out to Kyle Kemp. Might as well mention this. Ethan Paul's oddest talent, he's a skilled juggler. Not sure what skilled entails as an adjective. That would be professional quality or just something he likes to do in his spare time.
More than 3 balls?
Or flaming torches. 1-2 from Kemp. Breaking ball that never quite broke. It misses outside, and now the count even at 2 balls and 2 strikes.
If you're ever in Lincoln, Nebraska, there's some really good halftime entertainment during women's college basketball games at Pinnacle Bank Arena. I think the guy's name is Mad Mike, which is kind of a spin-off from Mad Max. And this guy will juggle chainsaws, he'll juggle human beings. I mean, he'll juggle it all, and he never misses.
So what you're telling me, if baseball doesn't work out for Ethan Paul, 2-2 fastball misses high, the count now full, there's a career there, halftime of women's basketball games.
There's a spot on Mad Mike's, I guess, touring band. The crazy thing about Mad Mike is that he'll always be drenched in sweat, but he never has anything slip out of his hand, which is incredible to me. It's hot in those arenas, man.
I just don't know when you would wipe off the hands on a towel. You're always juggling. 5-1 score, 2 outs, the 3-2 from Kemp. A fastball that misses outside for ball 4. So 2 outs recorded in a row to begin this 8th, but since a single from Hopeby, Heron was hit by a pitch, and now Paul coaxes his 3rd walk of the night. And the base is loaded for Nico Decolati, the Loyola Marymount Lion.
Can you juggle?
I cannot. Can you?
No.
Mike Roberts swiftly jogs out to the mound to meet with the entire infield and Kyle Kemp. A righty is warming in the Cotuit bullpen, but you'd have to figure in a 5-1 ball game, Mike Roberts wants to use Kyle Kemp the rest of the way in this one. Juggling always something, Matt, that to me seems like something that I could just pick up, seems like something easier than it might actually be. New arm is coming on for Cotuit, and it's Christian Demby, the NC State righty, relieving Kyle Kemp. So if there was any question as to whether we're going to play a full 9 tonight, Mike Roberts trying to end any questioning thoughts up here in the broadcast booth, perhaps. This game 2 hours, 45 minutes old. With 2 outs in the 8th, the bases full of Orleans Firebirds, and Christian Demby coming on. We'll step aside and be right back for the conclusion of this top half of the 8th and so much more on the Cotuit Kettleers Video Network. Back in Cotuit's Field of Dreams, Lowell Park, 5-1 score as blue skies above for the first time all day on Cape Cod. A beautiful ending to a Friday evening and a not so beautiful score right now. 5-1 Orleans, bases full of Firebirds with 2 outs here in the 8th. And Christian Demby, the righty out of NC State, is on. He's facing Nico Decolati as Demby fires a first pitch breaking ball over at the knees for strike 1. Christian, 6'4", 218 pounds. This is appearance number 8 of the summer. So far a sub-2 ERA at 1.86. Last appeared a couple nights ago here at Lowell Park against Hyannis. Worked 2 one-run innings in that ball game. 0-1, another good breaking ball. This time swung through by Decolati. It's 0-2. Mad Chad is the juggling master with the chainsaws. If you're looking for a YouTube video to watch on this Friday evening, pull it up in a new tab if you have us on YouTube or Mixlr.
I suggest the Axe of Venice Beach chainsaw juggler Mad Chad, which is his directorial debut.
A feast for the eyes. 2 outs, 0-2. Another breaking ball swung through, strike 3. Dillard can't glove it, but now he runs to home plate. Kind of stumbles, but with the force out at home, Thomas just has to step the right foot on the home plate area to complete the strikeout and end this top half of the 8th. The Firebirds load the bases, a single, a hit batter, and a walk, but they cannot add to their 4-run lead. And after 7.5 now from Lowell Park, it's still 5-1 Orleans on the Cotuit Kettleers Video Network. Welcome back to Lowell Park in Cotuit, Massachusetts. A 5-1 score on this Friday evening and game number 27 of 44 regular season contests this summer. Will Greer and Matt Rigby alongside you. It's 5-1 Orleans, and a new pitcher is on for the Firebirds. It's the lefty Graham Stinson, who stands 6'5", 245 pounds. Pretty imposing out on the first base side of the rubber. Out of Norcross, Georgia, Stinson, 7 appearances so far this summer. A 2.19 ERA, 7 hits allowed in 12 1/3, and 24 strikeouts in those 12 1/3 for Stinson. Almost 2 strikeouts per inning pitched. He'll attack 9, 1, and 2. Dillard, Conine, and Ginesta in the Cotuit half of the 8th. As Thomas Dillard steps in, waggles the bat, and looks at a first pitch fastball on the outer half for strike 1. The sun's setting here in Cotuit. Streaks of sunlight on the tree canopy out in right field right now. A blessing for all of us who have lived through 2 straight pretty gloomy days on Cape Cod. 0-1. Fastball misses low and inside. It's 1-1. Thomas 0 for 1 in this one. He took over for Gian Martellini in the 5th and flew out to the left fielder Steven Scott on the first pitch he saw. Steps into the right side, does the switch hitter against the lefty Stinson, who pauses. Now kicks and fires a 1-1. Good slider right over the heart of the zone for strike 2. Crowd is certainly thinned out on this Friday evening. People with bigger and better things to do, I suppose, on a Friday night. Temperature in the low 60s. 5-1 score. Stinson comes set. The 1-2. Fastball fouled up the first baseline. Diddler late on a 93-mile-an-hour fastball. An all-Duke matchup awaiting. Griffin Conine set to face his fellow lefty teammate, Graham Stinson. Stay tuned. The 1-2 set. And the pitch from Stinson. Slider, outer black, strike 3. Nice pitch that time from Graham Stinson. Locked up Thomas Dillard. One up, one down in the top of the lineup, and Griffin Conine coming up. This might be our last half inning, but with this sunlight that is shown through out of nowhere, Matt, we might be able to play 9 tonight. It was just so dark for the bulk of this game, but now the field is light as it's been all night, and it's, of course, as late as it's been all night. Captain Obvious there. Conine from the left side swings through a good first pitch breaking ball from Stinson for strike 1. We'll check on how the other 8 teams across Cape Cod are faring on this Friday evening in a moment here in the 8th. 5-1 score. Nobody on. 1 out, the 0-1 from Stinson. Fastball outer half, sprayed to the backstop. It's 0-2. YD has defeated Brewster 2-1 tonight at Stony Brook Field. So the Red Sox break a 1-game losing streak and get to 4 games over 500. They're creeping up on this Firebirds team. That shows you how good YD has been as of late to be so close to a really good Orleans team. 0-2 from the Duke Blue Devil Stinson. Breaking ball that misses outside. Falmouth up 2-1 over Hyannis. Spot him 7 at McKeon Park tonight. Harborhawks trying to win for the 3rd straight time and get to just 1 game under 500. They come into play tonight, 4th in the Western Division. 1-2, fastball outer half, sprayed toward the cars in the parking lot. And it avoids a windshield, at least on the fly. It's 1-2. Chatham and Bourne tied at 1, top 7 at Doran Park tonight. And Harwich leading Wareham 4-1. That game in the bottom half of the 4th at White House Field. Justin Montgomery, the talented pitcher for Wareham, giving up an earned run for the first time this summer as Conine steps out. 2 earned runs, 4 runs allowed by Montgomery. He goes just 2 1/3 against a Harwich team that we've profiled often throughout the summer. It's really struggled with the bats. 1-2 slider misses outside by the catcher Groshans, and the count now even. Wareham coming to Lowell Park tomorrow night, and then we'll go to Wareham Spillane Field on Sunday. So a mini 2-game home and home upcoming with the Gatemen, who are 3 games under 500 in last place in a jam-packed Western Division. 2-2 slider. Conine lays off. Graham Stinson keeps coming with that slider that starts on the middle portion of the zone and then breaks away from Griffin. The count now 3-2. Infield and outfield at normal depth and positioning for Kelly Nicholson. The 3-2 from Stinson. Another slider, maybe a changeup that time. Didn't have as much break, but Conine swings through it for strike number 3. So now 13 innings, Matt, for Graham Stinson this summer and 26 strikeouts as he'll now face the 2-hitter Grayson Ginista.
They've got a stat that they keep on point streak. It's a pretty common stat. Strikeouts per batters faced, I think. Maybe it's just strikeouts per 9. I'll look it up. 26 in 13 innings might put Stinson at the very top of that leaderboard.
At 6'5", 245 with the mid-90s fastball and the slider that we saw 3 or 4 times in that at-bat. He's got to have scouts salivating right now. 0-1 breaking pitch over at the knees into Ginista for strike 1. So Griffin's 9-game hitting streak going to come to an end. He's 0 for 4. Ginista extending his hitting streak to 6 games with a bloop double back in the 3rd. Lefty-lefty matchup. 0-1 from Stinson. Fastball, cracked bat, bouncer to shortstop. Hope charges, gloves, and throws to Newbar for out number 3. A 3-up, 3-down inning for the Duke Blue Devil, Graham Stinson. And it looks like we'll head to the 9th. Still waiting on a word. We'll wait here for a moment. Ronaldo Cockrum, our home plate umpire, ushering out Kelly Nicholson and Mike Roberts. It's a 5-1 ball game.
I think that's going to be it.
Mike Roberts barking out some instructions to Ronaldo Cockrum, and now Kelly Nicholson shakes the hand of his good friend Mike Roberts, unofficially ending this ball game. A final in 8 innings, a 5-1 score. All 6 runs scored in the first 3 innings of this one. The bullpens really bearing down in this ball game. A couple unearned runs for the Firebirds. An unearned run for the Kettleers as well. The RBI double from Ginesta, the only offense in this one, as Cotuit falls for the 3rd straight night, and now 4 straight games without a win for the Kettleers. They're now just 2 games over 500 at 14-12-1. Meanwhile, the Firebirds back to 7 games over 500 at 17-10. We'll pause and come back to talk about it. A 5-1 final in game number 27. Orleans defeating Cotuit and sweeping the season series, as we'll be right back on the Cotuit Kettleers Video Network. Back at Cotuit, Will Greer and Matt Rigby alongside you, the Cotuit Kettleers post-game show, and for the 3rd straight night, a not-so-celebratory post-game show from Lowell Park as the Kettleers fall to Orleans in game number 27, a 5-1 final. Looking up at the scoreboard, that's really all you need to know about this ball game. 5 runs, 6 hits, no errors for Orleans, 1 run on just 2 hits, and an error for Cotuit. And looking down the box score, we'll talk about the hitting first. Really no sharply hit baseball in this game for Cotuit, at least no sharply hit singles. The double in the 3rd for Grayson Ginesta that drove in Chandler Avent, that was a bloop double the other way that the left fielder Steven Scott dove for and simply could not come up with it. It bounced off the heel of his glove, allowing Ginesta to drive in Avent. And then the only other RBI in this baseball game, there was none, I should say. The only other base hit in this baseball game was a John Cresto broken bat single through the hole up the middle. So a couple of bloop singles for Cotuit in this one, just 1 run, and an error from Taron Vavra, really the costly play in this one. Orleans scoring 1 on a single, a passed ball, a stolen base, and then another wild pitch, scoring Jimmy Herron back in the 1st, and then in the 3rd, walk, hit batter, fielder's choice, walk, error, single. That yielded 4 runs for the Firebirds. The biggest play in the inning, certainly the error on Taron Vavra, that instead of getting to the 2nd out of the inning, it got 2 runs across for Orleans, extended the frame, and made a pretty ugly inning for Jason Billis, a little bit uglier for the Cotuit starter. Billis in this one, as I pull up the box score here, Jason in his 4th start of the summer goes 2 1/3, gives up 2 hits, 5 runs, 4 of which were earned, 4 walks, and 6 strikeouts. So out of the 7 outs that Jason Billis records tonight, 6 of those are strikeouts. He was really impressive, clearly had electric stuff, but just couldn't really hone in the fastball at any moment tonight. And that came back to bite Jason. The story positively for Cotuit in this one, certainly the bullpen. The bullpen combines, as I counted up here, for 6 2/3, make it just 5 2/3 with an 8-inning ball game. 5 2/3 of 4-hit shutout baseball. Zane Collins went 2/3 on just 4 pitches. Taylor Lehman with a really nice 2 2/3, 3 hits, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts. Kyle Klemp with a clean inning and a third. And then Christian Dimby with a really nice inning out of the bullpen, gave up just 1 hit, did Dimby. The bullpen really good tonight. The starter Billis was good, not great. And the offense, maybe one of the worst offensive production nights we've seen from the Kettleers all season. Offensively for Orleans, Jimmy Herron finishes 1 for 2 with a pair of walks. Ethan Paul 0 for 1 with 3 walks and a hit by pitch. Romy Gonzalez 1 for 3. Groshans 1 for 4. And Hopeby picks up hit number 10 of the summer. He finishes 1 for 4. RBIs for Orleans. Groshans had an RBI single, and that's it. I mean, that tells you what happened in this baseball game. Really no RBIs to speak of either way. Just 3 combined RBIs out of the 6 runs scored in this ball game. Of course, the error from Vavra again, very costly in Cotuit. Just never able to get anything going against the Orleans Firebirds. Pitching-wise for Orleans, it started with Joey Murray. The righty out of Kent State picks up win number 3 of the summer. He's now 3-1. He gave up just 1 hit and just 1 unearned run in 5 really good innings. And then Thompson went 2 innings. The lefty out of Louisville, the righty out of Louisville, I should say, gave up just 1 hit and struck out 2. And then Graham Stinson, who has now 26 strikeouts in 13 1/3 innings, looked really good. He picks up 2 more punch-outs in this one, including a strikeout of his college teammate, Griffin Conine. That's about all I've got to say about the baseball game, but Matt Rigby will have what we learned tonight presented by Curry College after a quick break. 5-1 the final, Orleans defeating Cotuit, as we'll be right back on the Cotuit Kettleers Video Network.
Matt Rigby back on the Cotuit Kettleers Radio Network, Video Network, and Comcast Channel 9, wherever you may be tuning in from or however you may be tuning in to us on this Cotuit Kettleers post-game show. Kettleers dropped their 3rd straight as they lose tonight in game number 27 by a final score of 5-1 to the Orleans Firebirds here at Lowell Park. It's time for What We Learned Tonight, presented as always by our good friends at Curry College. And first, we learned that in a sport that is played 3 corners at a time, things maybe, just maybe, started to turn the corner in multiple senses tonight at Lowell Park. First, after a gloomy pair of days all across the Cape, our old friend the sun showed itself in the final inning of tonight's game. And after a gloomy start to the game on the mound, Kettleer relievers combined to pitch the final 5 2/3 innings of this ball game without giving up a single run. If they can continue that tomorrow, perhaps the Kettleers can ultimately snap what has been so far a 4-game stretch in which they have not won a baseball game. Next, we learned that Ethan Paul is quite the juggler, that Mad Chad is quite the juggler, and that Jason Billis perhaps could not juggle what is the best lineup in the entire Cape League tonight for the Orleans Firebirds. We mentioned it multiple times, but 1 through 6 tonight for the Firebirds in their batting order all entered play with a plus 300 average, and the 7-hitter Lars Nootbaar wasn't far behind with a 271 average. All things considered, Jason Billis did his best. He ultimately went 2 1/3 and only gave up 2 hits, but he walked 4, and he gave up 4 earned runs while striking out 6. All in all, a mixed bag for Mr. Billis, as it's been so far all summer long. And finally, this might be a little bit obvious, but we learned that the Orleans Firebirds are just as good as their 16-10 record might indicate. We talked all night long about Orleans perhaps going on to be one of the better teams in the history of the Cape League, and certainly one of the better teams that the Cape League has seen over the past decade. They don't have a lot of holes, and they didn't show a whole lot of holes tonight. Orleans now has won 17 games on the year, and they've won 16 of their past 22. They're the first team to 17 wins. They're the first team to 34 points. And with the season series, at least the regular season series, wrapped up between these two teams, the Cavaliers, if they want to meet the Firebirds again, it would be so in the Cape Cod Baseball League Championship Series. Will have a lot to fix from now until then. That'll do it for what we learned tonight, presented as always by our friends at Curry College. Earn a bachelor's or master's degree, complete a certificate, or take a single course through the Division of Continuing Education and Graduate Studies at Curry College. Classes run evenings, days, and weekends in Milton and Plymouth. To learn more about programs in business, criminal justice, education, nursing, and more, visit curry.edu. We'll step aside, come back to wrap things up from Lowell Park on the Cotuit Cavaliers postgame show and the Cotuit Cavaliers video network.
Back in Cotuit, Will Greer, Matt Rigby alongside you one final time on this Friday evening from Lowell Park for the third and final segment of the post-game show. 5-1 final in game number 27 this evening from Lowell Park. Orleans defeating Cotuit in a ball game that saw all 6 of its runs scored in the first 3 innings, and that also saw just a couple RBIs, in fact just 2 RBIs combined out of the 6 runs scored tonight. It was that kind of night from Cotuit. A really sloppy baseball game, but hopefully the Cavaliers can just flush this one away and move on to Wareham, who comes to town tomorrow. More on that in a moment. First, we'll take a spin across the out-of-town scoreboard. Check in on the other 8 teams across Cape Cod. The only other final so far, 2-1, YD defeating Brewster tonight at Stony Brook Field. So the Red Sox now to 4 games over 500, and they're just a couple points back of the Orleans Firebirds for first place in the East Division. Meanwhile, Brewster drops to 14-13-1, a 2-game winning streak snapped for Jamie Shevchik's bunch. Chatham and Bourne doing battle tonight at Doran Park. That ball game tied at 1. Bottom half of the 7th at Bourne tonight, but that game might be, it's bottom 8 actually as I refresh here. 1-1, and it might be over with the way the Wi-Fi usually works at Doran Park. We will never know until we call somebody who's actually at the game tonight. But 1-1 is what Point Streak says right now, bottom 8. A development, Falmouth and Hyannis tied at 3. That game bottom half of the 8th at McKeon Park. The Commodores leading all night long, but Hyannis fighting back, scrapping back, and the Harbor Hawks just one big run away from going to 12, 13, and 2 overall, and just one big run away from winning their 3rd straight game. Here come the Harbor Hawks, and here comes Wareham as well. 4-3 now the score at White House Field. Harwich was up 4-1 at one point. That game now 4-3, just the top half of the 5th. And we all know how leaky that Harwich bullpen can be at times. So the Gatemen trying to break a 1-game losing streak, trying to get back to 2 games under 500. They trail by just 1 run, top 5 at White House Field tonight.
You took the words out of my mouth, Will. We all know how leaky that Harwich bullpen can be. And as you said, here comes Wareham. They're coming here tomorrow, and we'll have to wait and see to determine whether or not they're coming in looking for win number 2 in a row or looking to end a brief losing streak. They'll send your old pal Griffin Roberts to the mound no matter what they're looking for. Griffin Roberts, the righty out of Richmond, Virginia, stands 6'3", 205 pounds, just finished up his sophomore year at Wake. He'll make start number 5 of the summer for the Gatemen. The first 4 have gone very well. No wins or losses, but a 2.25 ERA and 20 innings logged on the mound. 24 strikeouts to just 4 walks surrendered by Griffin Roberts so far this summer. He's allowed 18 hits, and his last time out on the 10th of July, which was Monday, against the Chatham Anglers. He went 6 innings of 1-run ball, gave up just 4 hits, 0 walks, and 7 strikeouts. He'll be opposed by Justin Hooper, the tall, slender, lanky lefty on the mound for the Cotuit Kettleers, making start number 5 of the summer. Justin with a 2-1 record and a 2.94 ERA so far this summer has really looked good over the course of his last 2 starts. 11 innings combined in those last 2 starts with just 1 earned run allowed, 9 hits combined, allowed 9 strikeouts and 2 walks. Overall in the season, 18 1/3 innings pitched, 17 strikeouts, 4 walks, and 19 hits allowed. UCLA lefty Justin Hooper versus the Wake Forest righty Griffin Roberts tomorrow from Lowell Park.
Looking forward to it, Matt, and we'll talk to everyone again then. It's a 5 p.m. first pitch as the 2-game mini homestand wraps up with the Gatemen coming to town. It's game number 28 of the summer. Cotuit battling Wareham here at Lowell Park tomorrow. We'll be on the air, as always, around 4:40 or 4:45 from Cape Cod's Field of Dreams, Lowell Park. That'll do it for us tonight on the post-game show from LP. For my broadcast partner, Matt Rigby, and for the entire Cotuit Kettleers organization, we thank you for tuning in tonight. Again, the final score, Orleans defeating Cotuit 5-1 in a 3-hour baseball game. The winning pitcher, Joey Murray, who picks up his 3rd win of the season to just 1 loss. The loser, Jason Billis, he's now 0-1. Wareham comes to town tomorrow. We hope to talk to you again, but for now, have a great rest of your Friday evening. Good night, everyone.